And how many of you here for the very first time? Ignore everybody on the first row, they don't have a choice. Okay, so we're going to do a quick recording and then kick off day 2. It's great to see everyone here. Hope you got rested. Today is no less. Lots of fun, lots to talk about. SK, how are you doing? You good? Okay, we're both tired, but we have to be professional. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Art of Technology, Lagos 4.0. I am Oscar Onyiso, and with me is AKA SK.
It's a pleasure to be here. This is the formal service, and this is ensuring that the smart Lagos, the smart city constitution, technology has taken a prominent role when it comes to development.
Absolutely.
And, just name it, everything around us now is all hinged on how much technology we can actually
put out there. And to add to that, for those who were not here yesterday, just quick highlights of what happened. It was really, there was a heartfelt moment. Yes, there was a lot of speakers, the Deputy Governor was here, but I think my special moment was the award celebration and giving to the secondary school students, the innovation competition. They were here. Yeah, 2 last week. It was absolutely wonderful. We also had breakout sessions and discussions. Plenary discussions were also very good.
Yes. We had the plenary, the first one was the UNDP session.
Yeah.
And it hinged on the tech talent workforce towards economic and societal growth. And it was quite an interesting session.
And the keynote, or the second keynote session we had was also quite informative. The CEO, Sterling Bank, was here. Building resilient talent for digital transformation was that. The second plenary session was equally engaging and entertaining. We had the captain of industries, those who have carved a niche in their respective fields, talking about workforce talent strategy, building the public workforce for the future. The list goes on, but you will have a chance to catch up. If there's any information you need, feel free to visit the website. That's www.aotlagos.com.
All right, so this is the day 2, and it comes to be another very, very interesting and revealing session. We're going to have our keynotes as well.
Yes.
We're going to be talking from the world of experience. Some of the listed out dignitaries that are, or some of them are already here. You know, not to forget the Special Advisor, Innovation and Technology.
Yes.
The man who we described him yesterday, Fireball.
A real fireball, a real cracker. His vision and his dreams are as tall as he is, and we're glad to have him here and the whole team. But I just want to take just 2 seconds to give a round of applause to the AOT team. Let's show them some love and celebration as well. It has been a labor of love. We have a welcome address by our founder, but we also have a keynote session today. And we have the Managing Director of Africa, Tony Blair Institute for Global Change, in the person of Rishon Chimboza here with us. Is it, where is Rishon? Oh, there you are. I knew I saw you earlier on. Great to have you. Are you ready? I'm sure you are. He'll be talking on the millennial shift, accelerating tech workforce development in Africa. Please don't forget the hashtag is AOT Lagos 4.4 or just AOT Lagos 4. That's the hashtag on social media. And please tell a friend to tell a friend. It's not too late to be here with us.
Typically recognized, he was here yesterday, and it's also part of the second plenary session. He represented the Executive Secretary of the National Board of Technical Education, Kaduna. Please allow us to put our hands together for Dr. Gogo Hatim. We also, of course, you know.
Yes, we do. For those who are joining us for the very first time, we do have the Special Advisor on Innovation and Tech, Lagos State. We mentioned him earlier in the person of Tumboson Alake. Great to have you. Well, you don't have a choice. You actually have to be here, sir. So.
All right. To a lot of people, you probably don't know the brain behind these AOT Lagos.
Yeah.
AOT Lagos Lagos 2, EOT Lagos 3, and then EOT Lagos 4. And this is a young man who,
He's a very young man.
Okay, who has ensured that AOT is sustained year in, year out. He's also very hardworking, very resilient, and it has to bring him down on 6. He's always crossing the T's and dotting the I's. But it's important to recognize him at this point in time. Distinguished ladies and gentlemen, please put your hands together for the founder, Ecole Innovation Center, Victor
Afolabi. The only reason he's still and sitting down is because he's coming up next for the welcome address. After then, he'll just vanish doing what he knows how to do best. Ladies and gentlemen, please do make welcome as he works up on stage. Thank you.
Thank you. Does this work? Okay, sure it does. Good morning, everyone, and it's a pleasure to have us on day 2 of Art of Technology 4.0, and a big welcome to all our keynote speakers, distinguished guests. Special welcome to all our friends from different parts of Africa, from Morocco. I wasn't able to hang out with you yesterday, but you were supposed to pay for all our meals. You're in quarterfinals for the first time. I think he deserves a round of applause on behalf of his country. So you need to get to the finals, okay? And we have our friends from Morocco, we have our friends from Egypt, from Kenya, representatives from there. A few other persons from the ecosystem in Africa were quite grateful. I also see the House Committee Chairman for Science and Technology Committee from the Lagos State House of Assembly, my personal friend, Honorable Afini, just walked in. Can we give him a round of applause? Prof from LBS. I'm not sure it's the right place, but I will say it. I'm actually working on my doctorate, and part of the papers they gave to me was your paper on frugal innovation, fintech, and all that. We've reviewed it like 6 times with my supervisor, and trust me, we've not finished dissecting mobile money as a frugal innovation in Africa. So trust me, your work is going everywhere all over the world, and I think she deserves a round of applause. Doing big things in the ecosystem. Thank you for being a part of this. And to all our guests online and physically in the hall, we're very grateful for the support we've had all over the years, for as we organize Art of Technology Lagos. It's only possible because you have embraced it, you keep giving your all to it. We thank you for how we embrace also the outputs of the Art of Technology year in, year out as we move through all the initiatives. And of course, we look forward to the Innovation Master Plan that will be unveiled by also a special friend, one of the biggest cheerleaders that we have, and someone who has tirelessly made sure that this becomes institutionalized and who spends hours and hours and hours making sure that Art of Technology can work. The main bridge builder between the ecosystem, policymakers, and the executive. Again, Tuboson Alaki, I think, deserves a round of applause. A tireless hard worker, and they are the ones I want to say a big thank you to. So again, as I do the real function, which is a welcome address, is to say officially day 2 4.0 is open, and we want to say please stay glued. For those of you online, stay glued to your devices and make sure you comment on all the platforms, AOT platform, EIC platform. Drop in your comments, your questions, your views. The hashtag will come up on the screen. Let's make it participatory. Let's get feedback from you. And for those in the hall also, let's make sure that we make this warm and that we become a part of this. I think this is something that is exciting. Yesterday was focused entirely around what's happening in Nigeria and in the Nigeria ecosystem, particularly blown away by the keynotes from the MD of Sterling Bank and his approach to say, hey, it's about the Thai pipeline. We should stop making so much noise about the Jagbaism. We can do a lot more with the Jagbaism. We can actually monetize the exports of our talents. And I'm sure the keynotes for today, as we look more at an African perspective. So as an African perspective, what should the narrative be? How should we tackle this? What should we be doing? So it's an Africa agenda for day 2. And as we look at that, I do hope that every one of us can participate, make sure we share our inputs, make sure that we engage, and we can together co-create the Africa of our dreams. Thank you very much, everyone, and I'm grateful for your presence, and do make sure you have a great day today. Thank you.
Thank you very much, sir. Once again, a round of applause. SK, I just wanted to get one or two from the people. They are the reason we are here. Who was here yesterday? Anyone here yesterday? Okay.
3 hands up.
All right, let me...
Not from the first row.
Not from the first row. Where are you? Okay, fantastic. So all I need is just your name and your greatest takeaway from yesterday, okay? Your name, what you do, and the highlights for you from yesterday. Good morning. No, I'll hold on to the mic. People tend not to let go of the mic. What's your name?
Good morning. My name is Olumide Oyeniran. I'm a program manager for Digimatics. We're a tech startup. Okay. Yesterday, if I was to say one thing, the one thing is to counter JAPA by creating a pipeline bigger than the outflow, so that we have a large pool of talent. That's one thing. I can say others, but that's the one thing.
Thank you very much. I remember, I think it was Dr. Bayo that said that during his session. Anyone else? Okay, we have a lady in the house. Good morning. What's your name?
Good morning, sir. My name is Edith Young Dennis. I'm the director of MediConnect System Services.
Please, can you reduce the intensity of your teeth? It's too white for my eyes. All right, so what was your highlight yesterday?
Okay, among the many things I picked yesterday, I think one thing that resonates with me was a statement that the workplace, in as much as people there are working, but it should be a training ground. Like they should continually be trained, be equipped from time to time, so that even going out into the future, they still have the necessary skills, even if they are not in your own establishment.
Fantastic. Thank you so much. SK?
Recognize the founder, last startup station in all the way from Morocco, Mehdi Alaoui. Did I get that right? Did I get it right? Please feel free to correct me. Perfect, thank you very much. A round of applause for him, please. I'd like to also quickly, thank you very much. No, please still seated. I'd like to also quickly recognize the founder of Courage. She's here with us. Tolu Agubiade. Now, I also have the Associate Dean at Lagos Business School. Please welcome Professor Olayinka David West. Thank you very much, ma'am. You're looking very good. And before I take my seat, I'd like to recognize the head of Google Consumer Apps in Sub-Saharan Africa, Olumide Balogun. Yesterday we talked about the PS's dreadlocks. This picture doesn't have any dreadlocks.
Not at all. Yeah, we also, I couldn't help but spot the Honorable Commissioner for Science and Technology walking as well. Thank you very much, as always, for your support, Mr. Hakeem Popoola Fam.
Please, can we put our hands together for him?
So we have a recorded message and, of course, our keynote address on the multimedia screen. A former traditional ruler, a former governor of the Central Bank of Nigeria, and a man who is extremely passionate about our country. And we are glad to have him share a keynote with us as well. Please turn your attention to the multimedia screen as we do welcome Sanusi Lamido. Sanusi.
Your Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, it is a great pleasure for me to participate in this conference virtually. I do regret my inability to be with you in person, but I'm honored to send this goodwill message. The AOT conference that you have annually in Lagos, AOT 4.0 this year, is an important milestone in the development of Lagos, which is fast becoming a model for how this country can move and go into the fourth industrial revolution. I do recall before I joined the central bank, a lot of work done by my predecessor, Governor Soludo, in FSS 2020, and the vision he had for transforming the payment system and laying the foundation for these kinds of technological transformations. And I'm happy that the central bank has played a key role in providing the regulation, providing the encouragement, and continuing with the work to facilitate greater use of technology in this country. I'd like to congratulate Lagos State for the great stride it's made, the existence of unicorns in Lagos that have now become internationally recognized, and the great potential that we have. I do urge you to invest in training of the poor people, of those who have limited opportunities in life, because technology will will smash the glass ceiling and provide them with the opportunity to rise. One of the greatest enablers of people who want to seek a way out of poverty today would be training on technology and outsourcing and participation in the tech economy that you're building. I'd like to congratulate the government of Lagos State and the people for the successes that they have achieved so far. I wish you a successful conference, and I do hope that I'll be able to participate in subsequent events when I'm in the country. Lagos remains a model for the rest of the country, and I've always said that other states can emulate Lagos, and if they do that, this country will begin to expand the service industry and technology and become a much more efficient society, and we'll all see the benefits of technology and be like India and other countries, a leading country in the cutting edge of this century. Thank you very much. Congratulations. All the best and good luck.
Thank you very much. In a few minutes, we will be set for the first plenary. But before I do that, I'd like to quickly recognize a very important person. He's saddled with the responsibility of formulating policies and ensuring that they're being carried out, especially when it comes to science and tech, especially in Lagos State. Ladies and gentlemen, please join me as I recognize the Chairman House Committee on Science and Tech, the Lagos State House of Assembly. Please welcome Honorable Olariwaju Afini. Thank you very much. No, we're recognizing you. I know. All right, Oscar.
Thank you very much, SK. Please, we'll have a quick word from our sponsors, but for those involved in the first plenary discussion, please make your way to the left side of the hall so we can get you set up.
Dr. Deepo, Awujide, Edward Akoni, Ahmad Basway, Mehdi Alao, and Alice Machira, and of course, Tolu Agubiade and Shaka Charles. Yes. Please, can our discussants please move to the technical stand so that you can be mic'd?
Or look for a very handsome man in a blue jacket and a black V-neck with a nice voice. Anyone will do.
Oscar, can
I'm
we
not-
hear from our sponsors, please?
Yes, we can.
Who needs a bank when you've got friends? Introducing Loan Friends by Sycamore, the coolest way to lend and borrow money from your friends. Avoid high interest rates, credit checks, and the awkwardness of getting your money back. With Loan Friends, you can track all your loans, make extra cash by charging interest, and send payment reminders to get your money back easily. Download Sycamore to use Loan Friends today.
Go all out with Alas. That's all my friends and family. Them bust my head, them send money. All more them go all out for me, yo. All out with Alas. Plenty bills you got to pay. Certain amount today. Get the loan without delay. All out with Alas. Save money. All out. Invest money. All out. Begin jolly. All out. All out. When I walk today, I been a kill you there. Go all the way. Save money, invest money, begin jolly. When I walk today, I been a kill you there. Go all the way.
Alert, your bank, your way. Powered by Wema Bank.
What if you have access to all Lagos State amenities? What would you do? If you need access to loans, educational services, and discounts on all amenities and infrastructure,
and even better security,
your Lagos State resident ID card can get you all these benefits. You too can enjoy huge benefits and access to better healthcare with your Lagos State resident ID card. Remember, health is wealth, and your Lagos State resident ID card can get you access to it. A smooth, easy, and comfortable ride is very important in your journey to success, and your Lagos State resident ID card can help you get it. Can see, I'm enjoying the ride. Registering with LASRA today will help the government know how to properly cater to the needs of all Lagos State residents. So don't delay. Go to the nearest LASRA registration center today, get registered, and collect your Lagos State resident ID card. Be part of the plan for a greater Lagos. This message is brought to you by the Lagos State Government and the Lagos State Residents Registration Agency.
My name is Hakeem Popola Pham. I'm the Honorable Commissioner of Science and Technology, Lagos State.
I'm Simon Melchior, CEO of ASECO Nigeria. We're using drones, UAVs, or ARPAs, or a remotely piloted aircraft system, to fly over Lagos State and to map the whole of Lagos State. Lagos State is over 3,500 square kilometers.
This particular project, which is the Land Automation Administration, is very important to Lagos State government because it really fits into the team's agenda and part of the third pillar in the team's agenda under the education and technology. And also, we've been working towards becoming a smart city.
First of all, what I really have to commend is the vision of Lagos State to have done it. It's the first time a state in Nigeria is using drones to do its orthophoto map and to capture its landmass. It hasn't done before in Nigeria. When the drones were procured, we had to get permits to import this equipment. This is very, very advanced equipment. So it's considered dual use. So we needed to get some permissions to be able to import this very advanced equipment, number one. And we also needed to get permits from the Nigerian Civil Aviation Authority and other agencies to be able to actually operate, to fly these drones in a safe manner. So this took us about 2 years, of procuring and getting all these licenses in place. So we've started flying, and we now have captured over 95% of the landmass of Lagos State. And in doing so, really, we've also been able to showcase wherever we fly these particular competences. All our pilots are Nigerians, and it's so inspiring and amazing to see the children in the schools that we use for takeoff and landing points, you know, their eyes and how inspired they are with new technology. That's been a great and an amazing project, so to speak.
One of the most important benefits to the state has to do with knowing the inventory and also the utilization of lands within the state. This will allow us to do adequate planning, to look for areas where we need to expand. And looking at the size of Lagos State, Lagos is the smallest state in terms of land mass in Nigeria. At the same time, it has the highest population. So we have to make sure that we use our land conservatively. We need to provide adequate housing for the people moving into Lagos. And looking at the size, it's difficult to move horizontally. So this will allow us adequate planning because we still want to make sure that we provide housing, at the same time want to provide green space and also use part of the lands for agriculture. Having a digital image of the state will allow us to see a global picture that will allow us with the planning. This will be beneficial to the citizens because it will allow citizens also to have access to this information. And also, if we can boost the IGR of the state using this, then the state will have additional funds to do other projects. That will be beneficial to the citizens.
Distinguished ladies and gentlemen, it's time for the first plenary discussion. And this session is on turbocharging talent development for a new Africa. Ladies and gentlemen, our panelists are here and they're ready.
Dr. Dikpo Awojide, founder, High Impact Careers and BTDT Hub. Dikpo Awojide is a senior lecturer in strategy at Nottingham Business School in the United Kingdom. He is the founder of BTDT Hub, a human capital development company, and BTDT Home Tutors, a tutoring agency which provides high-quality tutoring to Primary 1 to SS3 pupils. He has expertise in strategic management, personal and professional development, as well as leadership and employability. Dikpo has worked in the banking and financial services sector and as a researcher in the Human Resources Department at Brush Turbo Generators, UK. He is a member of the Africa Academy of Management, British Academy of Management, and an associate member of the Chartered Management Institute, UK. In June 2015, Dikpo was runner-up Entrepreneurial Postgraduate Student of the Year. In December 2019, he was unveiled as a top 20 LinkedIn Voice UK for his personal and professional development articles and posts. Dikpo obtained his Doctorate of Philosophy in Strategic Management from Loughborough University in 2015. He obtained his Master of Science in International Business from Coventry University in 2011. He also obtained his Bachelor's of Science in Accounting from University of Abuja, Nigeria in 2008.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the podium, Dr. Dipo Awojide.
The hands together for Dr. Dikpo Awojide, the founder, High Impact Careers and BTDT Hub. I believe he deserves a better round of applause.
Also coming up is the Managing Associate, Ghana Tech Lab. Please do make welcome Edward Akani. We also have Managing Director, ISALEX, that's all the way from Egypt, Hamed Bastaway. Make some noise.
Distinguished ladies and gentlemen, also joining them for this first plenary is the founder, Last Startup Station, all the way from Morocco. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Mehdi Olaun.
And when it comes to project management, we do have all the way from Kenya. She's a project manager with NILAB. Hope I got that right. Make some noise for Alice Michira.
And the moderator for today is the founder of Current. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Tolu Agubiade.
And just to loosen things up in terms of plenary sessions, never has this been done before in the history of AOT. Please, can we have our moderator and our panelists all stand? DJ,
just 60 seconds.
Drop a beat. Now I hear Alice was a record breaker dancer from school.
Alice?
Yes.
Alice, we heard you could break dance.
Let's do this, Alice. All right, people.
60 seconds.
Let's clap. 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 There we go. Let's go. There we go. All right. Let's get the blood flowing. Let's get the juice pumping. It's AOT Lagos 4.0. How many of you would love them to stop? Thank you so much. They are a good sport.
Can we put our hands together for them?
And judging by that performance, never again will that happen in the history of AOT Lagos. Over to you, Dr. Dipo.
Mic check. Good morning, everyone. I think I'd stand up for this presentation. I didn't actually know I was coming up here to dance because I am so bad at dancing. But yeah, morning once again, everyone. Yeah, so this is going to be a presentation on turbocharging talent development for a new Africa. I'm going to try to keep this as short as possible. So we can get into the conversation, and get the opinions and the views of all the panelists, on the stage. So what exactly do we need to do to turbocharge talent development for a new Africa? I'm going to be speaking on, where the jobs are. So where exactly are the jobs? What skills do young people need? Who are the stakeholders? Who are the people who are responsible, for shaping the policies? Who are the people who are responsible for actually providing solutions? And of course, where do we go from here? So now we know what the problems are. We know, we all know what the challenges are, in Nigeria, in Lagos, in Accra, in Nairobi, in Egypt, all across Africa. We know what the problems are. But where do we go from here? What should we do? So starting off, where exactly are the jobs? Where are the jobs of the future? The jobs of the future, are in retail. The jobs of the future are in the education sector. The jobs of the future are in the medical field, but the jobs of the future are also in tech. Okay, so you have software engineers, you have data analysts, you have, you have business analysts, project management. These are where the jobs are. Artificial intelligence specialists, these are where the jobs of the future are. I heard one of the panelists, yesterday actually said that, can't remember what the percentage is now, but he said a lot of the jobs that we have today, they are not, in the next 5-10 years, a lot of these jobs are just going to fizzle away, and new roles are going to come up, new, skills are going to be needed, new competencies are actually going to be needed. And on here we have, jobs that are decreasing in demand on a global basis, not just in Lagos, not just in Africa, but on a global basis. And of course, there are also jobs on here, that are growing in demand. So what is going to happen? What skills do our young people need all across Africa? What do we need to do to actually get our young people ready, for these jobs of the future? So what skills do young people need? This is a research that's been done by the World Economic Forum. There are loads of papers and research done as well, by the World Bank, by, African Union, ECOWAS, and a couple of other, even the Lagos State government, there are reports that have actually been put together. But on here, we've got analytical thinking and innovation, active learning, complex problem solving. Problem solving, you need to know how to solve problems. Yesterday, one of the panelists actually spoke about, labeling, no, I think it was the Commissioner for Education, who actually spoke about, what we have obtainable in Nigeria. You draw an eye and you label, they tell you to label the eyes. In other climes, they get more critical. It gets deeper than actually drawing an eye and labeling, what the eye is. They get these little kids to actually challenge, conventional thinking. They get them to actually, be much more critical, in their thought process. Leadership and social influence, creativity, technology design and programming. So these are the sort of skills that young people will actually need for the jobs of the future. Who are the stakeholders? We are all part of the solution providers. We are all part of the stakeholders. The federal government, the government of Nigeria, the government of Egypt, the government of Kenya. If we want to turbocharge talent development in Africa, the government, the state government, the private sector, it is important, for everyone to actually get involved. The African Union, the African Development Bank, the Commonwealth, the World Bank, the academia. The academia, we need to actually get involved. Think tanks, and of course, youth organizations. So everyone needs to get involved. Everyone, it's not just the job of the government. It's not just the job or the duty, of the private sector. Everyone needs to actually get together to ensure that, we help with developing Africa and, shaping the future of the continent. Okay, so quickly, what do we need to do? We need to shape tertiary and vocational curriculum. There was so much that was said about this yesterday. It is very, very important and very critical that from the basic education phase, so primary schools, secondary schools, in our universities, we actually need to ensure that we teach critical thinking. We need to ensure that we move away from, the traditional modes of teaching that we know. We need to embed certain things into the curriculum that helps our young people actually think, that helps our young people actually solve problems. We need to equip young Africans with adequate education and skills. Again, education and skills. Very, very important and very critical. We need to create more employment opportunities. Because if people have the education and the skills, they need to also get decent jobs. They need to get, decent income so they don't leave the continent. And for those who have left the continent, to actually consider coming back to the continent to build from here, rather than building, from Europe or from North America. We need to provide access to capital for MSMEs, offer internship opportunities and apprenticeship opportunities. Not everyone will go to a university. And again, this was actually said repeatedly yesterday. Some people are going to go the vocational route. And it is very, very important that we accept that reality. Some will go to polytechnics, some will go to monotechnics, and we need to actually ensure that everyone is skilled and equipped, for the kind of jobs that they're going to end up in the next few years. Coaching, mentoring for young Africans is also very, very important, and we also need to localize all our solutions but collaborate. Okay, there are people who are doing stuff in silos. Everyone is providing their own solutions at a subnational level. We need to have comprehensive reforms. Okay, the Commonwealth is doing something. The African Union is doing something else. Sometimes these bodies are working at cross purposes. So we actually need to, localize the solutions, but also collaborate. This is going to be the end of my presentation before we get into the panel discussion. Young people are our greatest assets in Africa. In Nairobi, in Kenya, in Lagos, in Cairo, we need to invest in young people. We need to invest in young people. Thank you.
Anybody hear me? Nice. Thank you very much for that, Diko. It's a good framing for the rest of this conversation. And I just want to set the context before I ask my panelists to introduce themselves, and we'll dive straight into the discussion. I'm sure a lot of you have heard or read somewhere that by 2035, Africa would have the largest workforce in the world. There's estimates there's going to be as high as 450 million, and this is going to be representing probably 60–70% of what the world would have by then. So we know that. I actually have a boss, his name is Fred Swanika. He says this is either a ticking time bomb or is a great opportunity. I'm optimistic, so I think it's a great opportunity. And I think it speaks to what Deepak just mentioned about investing in our youth, because they will make up, or we will, please, I'm still a youth, we will make up most of the world's population. And in this conversation, we want to talk about how to actually turbocharge this talent development and how it brings about a new Africa. And with me, I have some very qualified, very experienced, very knowledgeable people. So before I start asking them questions, I would love for them to introduce themselves in a minute or less. I will start right beside me with my lady, Alice. Alice, please, tell us a bit more about you, what you do.
Good morning, Lagos. Good morning. My name is Alice. I'm from Nairobi, Kenya. I'm excited to be in this part of Africa. It's my first time in Nigeria, and my experience has been awesome. I coordinate projects for NILAB Accelerator, which is a Pan-African Accelerator Innovation Support System that started in 2009, and we partner through the continent with different innovation hubs and accelerators so that we can create awareness, linkages, knowledge, access for the globe. And as Tolu has said, Africa is where talent is, so we intentionally prepare for our Africans to access what is out there, and I'm happy to be here.
Thank you, Alice. I'll hand over to Mehdi.
My name is Mehdi. I'm extremely honored to be with you here in Lagos today. It's my second time in Nigeria. So I'm coming from Casablanca. So I was entrepreneur for the last 20 years, create many startups, definitely with a lot of failure, but also some good exit. This is why I decided 5 years ago to give back to my community. And I created one of the most important tech hub in Morocco, where we do, open innovation. We accelerate the collaboration between startup and big corporates. We also support startup with incubation acceleration program. We finance startup and we do training. I would love, to share with you one of maybe two experiences that we do that was fantastic. One of them was, organizing an event of innovation inside the plane. And another one, we produced a TV show. You may know with Shark Tank, we produced the Moroccan version, and we had like 20 million viewers. very happy to be with today and to share with you what we are doing in Morocco. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Mehdi. Next up, Ahmed.
So hello everyone, how are you doing? Good? Okay, so my first name is Ahmed, but you know half of the male population in Egypt is either Ahmed or Muhammad. So if you say I know a guy who's called Ahmed in Egypt, that will not help. So my last name is more kind of known, which is Bastawi, so if you want to remember it. So, and I'm coming from ICE Alex, which is basically an innovation consultancy hub, a 12-years old hub. And I stands for innovation, collaboration, and entrepreneurship. And we do basically two strategic things. One that is innovation consultancy. So we work closely with governments, INGOs, aid organizations, and like large enterprises on building innovation strategies. But also on the other side, we have a very strong arm in Ventures Launchpad. So we build ventures with impact through incubation programs, pre-incubation, but also acceleration. And I'm happy to be here today in Lagos, actually, sharing some good stories about how Africa is beautiful as well. So thanks for having me. Thank you.
Welcome. And let's just give a round of applause to all our panelists again. Thank you. Okay, I'm going to jump into the conversation now. And from what I'm hearing, there's a lot of people involved in entrepreneurship. I'm happy about that because the last couple of years of my life I've spent supporting entrepreneurs in different capacities. But I also know that entrepreneurship is not the only way we're going to do talent development. So I want to start with a flat conversation around what you each think the current state of talent development in Africa is. And you can speak about this from your own experience in any way. I will start with Dipo because he did the framing and he has a bit more preparation and context. Beyond what we think should happen in talent development, what do you think the current state is? So we know where we are and where we need to go to.
Thank you so much, Tolu. Let me start off by saying Tolu was my classmate at the prestigious, wait for it, prestigious University of Abuja. Prestigious University of Abuja. She was one of the serious students who would be in front and the rest of us would be behind the class. I just thought I'd chip that in. Where are we? Where are we currently? I think there's a lot that is being done, you know, across Africa. There's a lot of, there are boot camps, there are, you know, training events, you know, there are mentorship and coaching, you know, sessions actually already going on. There are subnational levels, subnational governments and federal governments who, you know, are investing in young people. But it's just not enough. Like, it's not. We are not there yet. And it's a matter of, you know, is the cup half full or half empty, you know? Should we be negative or be positive? I think there's a whole lot of good things actually going on already. But as I noted earlier, there has to be more. We need to accelerate, you know, how much we invest. We need to, you know, basically get to the next level. There has to be an understanding of, you know, where we are, where we need to be, you know, and how to get there. And it doesn't have to be a top-down approach, you know, of, you know, government officials or policymakers, you know, actually doing stuff in silos. You know, we have to speak, there has to be more or less a knowledge exchange partnership. So between universities and young people, you know, and the private sector, you know, we need to find out exactly what the employers need. So employers need young people who can use Microsoft Excel. Employers need young people who, you know, can solve problems. So employers say this to the universities rejig their curriculum, you know, training institutes actually rejig what they are teaching, and I think that's how to go. So investing a lot more, there's a lot being done already, but to get it to the next level, governments, you know, the private sector as well, companies as well, need to invest in training, in skilling, and upskilling of employees.
Thank you, Dipo. And we'll have a deeper conversation around the roles that different stakeholders play in this. So just hold that thought. I'll come back to you soon. I'd like to hear from Mehdi. On your own end, what you've been seeing in Morocco and the other places you've been to, what would you say the current state of talent development looks like?
Yeah, thank you so much for the question. I would love to share with you my vision how we can, go to the next level with our talent. Let me come back to some statistic. By 2025, 20% of the world economy will be a digital economy. By 2030, we will have 80 million of shortage of tech talent in the world. 60% of the youth in the world will be African youth. So tech talent is the new oil of Africa. So we need to take this matter seriously, and we need to change our vision how to go and to scale. So I strongly believe that we need a massive training of tech talent now to get the value of this new revolution of technology, and to be, as Africa, the first brain provider in the world. Our government needs to start to invest massively in training our youth. I'm not talking about training 10,000 or 100,000. I'm talking about training 10 million to 50 million youth in Africa. And what happened? Foreign investment will follow quickly in our continent. Big corporations will come and will be installed in our continent. Our youth will have a good job. They can work locally and they can work remotely. Our kids will not have to go out and do money sacrifice. We will be able to keep our sovereignty because we will be the brain of the world. To do that, what we need to put ego beside. We need to work hand in hand. We need to work under one umbrella. Take Africa. So we are starting that in Morocco by training in the next year 300,000 youth in tech talent. So I believe if we work together as one continent, we can be, the continent that will, decide in the future. Because technology is the future. To enable technology, we need the brain. We have the youth for it, and it costs nothing to do that. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Mehdi. I like something you're saying about how we really need to focus on developing talent, especially tech talent. And for me, one of the reasons why that's really important is because increasingly we're becoming a global village. There's a lot of globalization happening, and you're no longer just competing with people in Lagos or in Nigeria. You're competing with people in the UK, in the US, in India, in Pakistan, everywhere around the world. And you have to be intentional about how this talent is being developed. And it's not just the role of universities or the individuals. There's a place the government plays. There's a place that employers play as well. And I would like to hear from Bastare. That's your preference, right? Bastare. I know that you have ICE, Alex, and you do a lot of digital trainings and development and technology upskilling for people. And I would like to hear from you. How do you think we can do more digital talent development around the world and in Africa in particular?
So that's an interesting question. Thanks you so much for that. So first of all, like in ICE, Alex, we stopped doing trainings. So that's the announcement,
First
right?
one, no training.
So we don't do trainings for the sake of like educating everyone. So that's not the purpose of where we are. But we started basically working with young youth and talented youth to basically be ready for specific occasions or specific organizations. And this is the way I see that we can evolve. So a lot of investments, as Dr. Dipo was mentioning earlier, is being put into training like people and making sure that they're aware, which is super important. But I also believe that without building this bridge between these trainings or these youth in particular and the job market, nothing would much change. And I think this is the paradigm shift that has to happen from both sides, from the market side, but also from the kind of the supply side. So the youth has to always connect or attach their training capabilities, skills, qualifications into what's happening in the market. But also imagine if the market as well is paving the way for them to basically plug in their expertise early on and allow like a culture of experimentation, of failing, of doing mistakes, and then, you know, embracing these mistakes as part of the value chain, because this is how we can literally lift up our industries, our societies, and our economies as a whole. So I believe so much that the private sector, including startups, should basically open up opportunities for like hands-on internships that are paid, not only freemium, because this is how also these internships could be attached with specific projects, with specific deliverables that is helping these startups and SMEs and the private sector as a whole, not only like just allowing them to train because they need the certificate to apply it in the university or like to graduate, for example. So if we can do that bridge, I think we can go somewhere that is very interesting. And I think one of the things that we have seen, like, because we are all aware that there are a lot of challenges happening on the ground, but I'm coming also from a critical, optimistic background, where basically you see this young lady who has been traveling like twice a week, like more than 250 kilometers from this small village to this to the capital, because we are all coming from capital-centric countries, right? So everything happens in the capital. And I think this is an invitation for the government, for the private sector, but also for the youth to think outside of the capital. There are a lot of amazing stuff happening outside, but we are always wearing this Google lens in a way, and we don't see what's happening on the side or on the back and so on. So investment has to be happening across wide, like across nation, equally providing opportunities. And then this would bring me to the second point, which is basically, do we have enough infrastructure for that to happen? Do we have like enough logistical infrastructure? Do we allow the mobility to happen freely? And then we'll come to the third point, which is the digital infrastructure. So because when the government invests a lot in building like online courses or allowing these training modules to be happening, then there is a question that should be asked actually earlier. So do we have enough devices, equipment, internet connections that could allow that to happen? Do we have it only on the capital? Do we have it also in these small villages or not? Do we allow these young ladies or these young youth to basically get this learning in a hands-on way, not in just like an undirected way, just learn for life, which is interesting because we should cater also for this long life learning mindset as well. But I think these are the elements that also could allow us to grow and go on all the way to become much more kind of talent-oriented, because I believe we have amazing talents in the continent, and we are supporting a lot of international companies, like local startups. We are supporting governments, like locally and internationally, cross-continental, but also transcontinental. And that's something that we should be proud of, right? But we should also focus on these positives and make sure that we spread this narrative, because we are always also underestimating what's happening on the continent in a way or another. So like, this is my opinion on that regards.
Thanks a lot, Ahmed. Please can we hear a round of applause for Ahmed on that one, or Bastaway? Great, thank you. So I'm hearing things around in the development of talent, you need to think beyond just the local or the center of excellence or the capital. You need to look at other areas that might not have as much opportunity, and you can leverage things like online learning to do that. You also need to figure out how to balance hands-on support with remote or online support as well. And the next part I want to pivot to really quickly is saying, what is the role of organizations in being able to contribute to this development, whether it's in centers of excellence and capitals, whether it's remote, whether it's hands-on? And the person I want to speak to this is Alice, of course. So Alice, my question for you is, what role do you think organizations play in talent development? And how do you identify an organization who's actually committed to developing talent?
Okay, thank you, Tolu, for that question. I think the intentionality of the organization is key. They need to focus on the objective, because each organization knows what they're targeting. So if the objective is in the next 5 years, they'll need to leverage technology around machine learning, AI, then they need to intentionally start training, upskilling their employees to relearn these skills, and also create an environment around them to absorb new talent that is ready for their future. So I think organizations' intentionality around where are we heading and what will they need to get to their goals will guide how they train the talent that they have and upskill those who might be missing this. Also, the leadership in the organization should also be equipped to work with the new emerging workforce or young talent. Because I believe that the new tech, and we heard yesterday from the speakers, the new tech talent prefer to work from home. We had a conversation on the side with some of our panelists. Some of them are working 3-4 different jobs. So how do you leverage what they have to mentor either the ones who are working in office so that you don't have too much attrition and you keep on training, because the cost of training talent is so high for an organization if your turnover is so high. So the intentionality around that, and then also the organization needs to pay attention to the culture of what they want to be known for. Are they inclusive? Are they inclusive in terms of gender, inclusive in terms of disability, inclusive in terms of access, inclusive in terms of nationality? Are they willing to tap into talent? For example, across Africa, an organization could hire someone from Morocco, hire someone from Kenya, hire another one from Lagos, and bring in these different dimensions of thinking so that the culture of the organization is shaped. The other thing I could speak to is encouraging continuous iteration, learning, and adapting to new things. Because we live in a very flat global world. And as Tolu had said earlier, competition for whichever role is global. So once an advert is put out, maybe project manager for a program, whether it's a non-profit or it's a government initiative, the applications come from all over the world. So how will organizations in terms of academia train their people to be able to be competitive across the globe? How does government create an enabling environment, as Bastawe is saying, so that access in the grassroots of our country is possible, so that they can actually work remotely, they can actually compete, they can be prepared. How then do we, as the tech community, exchange knowledge across the continent collaboratively so that we all push Africa with a particular standard and a particular narrative for the world to absorb us? I think those are some of the things that I would say.
Thank you. Does anybody want to add to that? I'm curious to hear from you all, seeing as you are owners of companies. What role do you play in developing your talent?
I think it's okay now. So I definitely think that we have, the possibility to train technically our talent very well. But what we need especially is to help them on the soft skills. This is a key point. So we need to train them to be able to be problem solving. It's extremely important. We need to train them to help them to have a very high quality of communication. I think, as I said in the beginning, we have the capability today in Africa to train them in technical way. And we have a very, very good technician. But what we need is, youth that be able to solve the problem, to go beyond that. And I think this is the key, how we can help our future tech talent to get the most important job and succeed on them.
Thank you, Mehdi. I see Bastawe wants to share in that as well. Go for it. Just give us...
So it's
yes.
working. So I really like that, because also I would speak to all the youth out here as well, because I believe that the skills could be easily acquired, and there are a lot of investment happening from all the enabling environment in a way, even if we say that it's not enough sometimes. But my message here is all about discipline and mindset. If you don't have enough discipline, you'll never be able to go into the job market and stay and get like well paid with the huge talent and skill sets that you have if you don't have this, the mindset and the discipline. So I really believe that this is something that has to be trained and nurtured in all the youth out here in general. Even if you have that discipline, work on getting more, work in being resilient. And like, even if you are a student today, make sure that you are connected with any of the companies around you. And the purpose in that regard shouldn't be the money, because the money from my point of view comes as a byproduct. It should be basically the acquiring hands-on knowledge. So make sure that you get into internships, part-time positions, freelancing opportunities, or supporting on project basis, because this is how you get the hands-on skills, the real skills, while backing up yourself with like these accessible knowledge that are in the market. And the message for all the stakeholders that might be here is basically, you were mentioning earlier like how like basically we should hand in hand, and I think Alice emphasized on that. But I think one of the things that we started doing some years ago is basically building something called the ecosystem, right? So we work together, but I think by time it went to being an ecosystem. So leaving the ego behind and making sure that we can literally have a different purpose that connects us all together, that could basically make sure that we create real impact on the ground, would actually change the whole perspective, the whole narrative. And we will be in a different place. And I believe this is happening already between different people or different organizations, but it has to be spotted the light on, because without sharing these kind of positive like narrative again, or positive things that are happening on the ground, we'll stay on the media with the negative aspects that are like happening or not really happening, but then shared publicly as well. So working together, like on a very kind of operational level, having the same purpose would be also an enabling dimension for like supporting the talents in a better way.
Thanks a lot, Bastary. So some things I'm hearing about ways that organizations can develop talent is around being intentional about it. It is being continuous in it so that they can see growth progressions and there's not as much attrition. I hear that there are things like training them in skills like communication, problem solving, also focusing on mindsets for them as well. The next question I have is back to you, my classmates. The question I have for you, Dikpo, is how do you know you're effectively developing talent? Because like you mentioned, there's a lot of initiatives out there, and yes, we need to have more, and yes, we need to collaborate. But for me, it's also a case of, can we make sure it's quality instead of just quantity? Instead of increasing numbers of initiatives, can we deepen the existing ones that we have? So for people, either individuals or governments or companies listening, how do we effectively develop talent?
Okay, thank you very much, Tolu. That's a very, very important question. I think it ties to the, to the last, question you asked. At the individual level, I mean, for everybody, I think it's important for you to invest in yourself and train yourself. Get yourself ready for the world of works. Okay. Invest in your personal and professional development. It is not the responsibility of the government or of anyone. It is your own personal responsibility. For the government, I think it's important for the government, again, to invest in the population, invest in young people. And how can we know that it is effective? When jobs are created, okay, when a lot of people actually have decent income. Okay, so take Mombasa, take Accra, take Lagos, for example. We don't want to have people, loads of young men on our streets, offering marijuana and offering to buy Colorado and offering, all sort of drugs, at 9 p.m. or 8 p.m. in the night. You actually want them to have good jobs. So if the federal government and the state government effectively, invest in thousands, and as you rightly said, in millions of young people, we would see the output in terms of jobs being created, in terms of people leading decent lives. At the organizational level, I think we can take a look at the private sector and the public sector. With the public sector, it's going to be more about efficiency. Okay, how You know, so take a Lagos, take, you know, a state government, for example, you know, the civil servant or the people who work in the State House of Assembly or who work with the government, you know, how effective are they? How efficient are they in delivering on their core objectives and their core capabilities? And for profit-making enterprises, for organizations, it's all about the bottom line, isn't it? It's about, you know, how competitive they are. So have they gained a competitive advantage? Are they able to sustain whatever competitive advantage they have? You know, are they able to retain their own people, you know, the people who actually help them provide value? So I think across, you know, all the different areas I've touched, individuals, the government, I mean, with an individual, if you are investing in yourself efficiently and effectively, I think you should see results in your own personal life. So I think, again, there's a whole lot more that everyone needs to do.
Thank you. I really like that. And I love, in my mind, the one thing that's going to stick out from what you said right now is the only way we can know that we're effectively developing talent is if we're creating jobs. Otherwise, it seems like it's just vibes. Is that a good...
I think that summarizes it.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. So job creation. I'm curious to hear from you, Alice. Are there any other things you think around how to make sure that talent development is effective? Do you agree that job creation is the primary end goal, or are there any other things that you see as well?
I agree with what he's saying, but also I look at it from how do we look at engagement, for example. The talent that you have, how committed are they to the workforce, to the work they do? Are they always absent, for instance? So as you measure effectiveness, are there too many absenteeism, too much accidents happening if you're in production, errors, service? He was talking about how effective they are in delivery. So how are they excellent in customer service? How are you measuring that so that you can tell for sure I have developed talent, whether it's at a national level, whether it's at private sector, whether it's a non-profit kind of engagement, even at academia. How effective are our professors, our lecturers in class? How efficiently are they delivering content to us? And how many of us are passing the exam and actually getting the skill? So the intentionality around being precise to measure key metrics, I think is key. And then I had a new word, JAPA, in Lagos. So how are we changing our narrative around the fear of talent mobility? And now we look at how can we export more talent across the globe. And is our talent ready for the globe standards? Yeah? Are we resilient as young people? Just to echo what he has said. Have you upskilled yourself? Have you intentionally grown? Are you aware how to digitally leverage what is available globally? And then how competitive are you across? Can you compete with somebody who is working at San Francisco, for instance? And why do you think you're the best? How are you measuring yourself from an individual perspective? I think that's what I would say.
Thank you. I have a quick follow-up question for you on that. You said, are people being competitive in the global space, and how are you assessing what you're doing? Could you give the people listening a sense for what to assess for? So what are some key indicators that let you know that you're globally competitive or you're well-developed in your talent? If you have just like one or two things as very specific, indicators that show. You can think about it for a bit, and Dipo looks like he has many responses.
Ultimately, I think it's about economic value, isn't it? At the individual level, what kinds of value are you creating? At the business level, at the organizational level, either public or private, what kinds of value are you creating? So I think it's about the output, has to be in terms of the value that is being created.
I like that. And some things I also think of in relation to this is, because when you're working with a company, ultimately, like you mentioned earlier, it's their bottom line. Are they making money? Are they generating revenue?
And everything you do should tie to how you're supporting your company in generating that revenue and making profit. I also think that there's a role people should have in being able to say, how do you identify what exceptional looks like, and where do I sit in that gap? It comes to things like, are you able to problem solve effectively? Can you communicate for impact? Can you use the new tools that are available, digitally or otherwise, to do good work? Can you do that effectively and efficiently as well? So I like that very much. Do you have a question, your response now, or have I answered it for you?
Maybe I can add on to, we need, as Africans, to be agile and to be resilient at the same time, but be ready to run. So think on your feet, because the world moves so fast. And given that we live in a technology world, things get outdated so fast. So you can't be having and applying information you had for last year today. It's irrelevant, it's outdated, it's no longer needed. So you need to be futuristic, you need to intentionally, as he was saying, look for new, fast ways of solving problems instead of pointing fingers. Stop blaming government, consider yourself the change maker. And intentionally look at all the problems we have in Africa. I look at them as opportunities. Because for every problem, there's money. So if you solve it, you make money. So think in terms of how can I fix this thing that pains me, and how can I fast fix it before focusing on I need to be perfect, I need to just quick, speed, efficient. Yeah.
Thank you so much, Alice. Please a round of applause to Alice for that. At this point, my MC, can I ask the audience if they have any questions? Am I allowed to involve the audience? My MC can rule or overrule.
Absolutely, you are allowed.
Thank you. I'm going to just take 2 questions. I see a hand here, so let's start with my Oga on my left.
The gentleman,
right in front
okay.
of you. Thank you.
All right, your wish is my command, Tolu. Good morning. So please, the rule's very simple, just your name, what you do, and your question. If there's anyone on the, or one of the panelists, then just address them directly. Thank you.
Okay. Good morning, everyone. My name is Ayobi Ojololade Samuel. I work with the Lagos State Universal Basic Education Board, the data center. So my question goes to Dr. Dipo and possibly Alice. So in the question where Tolu Lope was asking about how do you know if the quality of the talents or something like that. So you mentioned something about government. So that brings me to one thing, that everything rises and falls on leadership. So like now, I want to develop myself. I'm ready to develop myself, but the enabling environment is not there for me. I still go back to talk about government, because government has refused to provide some certain resources that I need. I can't afford to buy much more data to take an AWS course just because some things are not working. So in that aspect, I'm asking you right now, are you now saying that if government, I shouldn't wait for government, but I'm ready to develop myself, so I shouldn't blame government because they didn't provide X, Y, and Z thing? That's the first one. Then,
sorry, it's only
Henry,
one. I'm
just
so sorry.
one question. Thank you.
But I think, let me try to. Okay, so Samuel, if I can attempt to summarize this, is that in as much as they're saying you shouldn't wait for the government, you're also saying the government has a role to play to make things easier, a huge role to play. So okay, quickly.
Okay, soft skill. You're talking about top 20 soft.
No, on the first one, I have to cut you there. Tolu, don't worry, they're not going anywhere, they're around, but I need to give the opportunity for others. Over to you, Tolu.
So,
I can answer that question quickly. So, at the end of the day, we have to live within our realities, isn't it? You invest in yourself as much as possible. Take advantage of the opportunities out there. There are some free courses on Coursera, Stanford University websites that you can actually take. But again, if you are a Nigerian, I hope that you have your PVC, and I hope that you decide you know, on who your state governor is, your House of Assembly member is, your president is, who your local government chairman is or chairwoman is, because these are the people who make decisions around the education sector, policies around skills development. So play within your realities, invest in yourself as much as possible, but also play your own civic duties. I think that summarizes the question.
Thank you very much. Alice, do you want to add to that because he called you? And before you go, there's a lady at the back who I want to go next. Can you raise your hand, madam? There she
Where is she?
She's right there. Her hand is raised.
Okay, please
She'll
stand
go
up.
next after Alice. Alice, go for it.
And in response to not blaming government, my take is the role of government all over the world is to create an enabling environment for you to thrive. That's the role of government. Now, government in Africa might have failed you based on your perspective, but from an entrepreneurship perspective, I think the fact that you've been given access, whether it's access to technology or access to understand English, so that you can compete with all English-speaking countries across the world, it's your personal responsibility then to do what he's saying. Go online, do free courses, because you can read and write, and then upskill yourself to be competitive, so that you don't wait for government to come and tell you, there is a job here and it requires critical thinking. There's a job here that requires data analysis. Learn it for yourself. The government has done the best it can to put you out there to tap into more. In Kenya, when we graduate, I don't know if in Lagos that's what you do, they give you your degree and they tell you they've given you the power to read. So that reading can start from there. Learning starts from graduation. So that's what I can emphasize.
Thank you. Thank you so much. So some things I'm hearing here are, granted, there's so much more that different organizations or people or stakeholders, including the government, could be doing to make sure that there's more talent developed. That being said, be aware of your reality and also take ownership for your journey. Leverage the existing platforms that exist, whether it is NGOs that provide you with data stipends or it is online courses like Coursera, even as you still demand for accountability and more by getting your PVC and letting your voice be heard. Thank you. The next question, please.
Thank you so much, Tolu.
Okay. My name is Olubumi Oyeyele Duyo, and I'm the co-founder for Cocoa Runs International. I've attended quite a number of these kind of gatherings, and over time, I've seen, governments, organizations strive very hard within this country to provide jobs, as they say. However, one thing I've noticed is that, according to a PwC survey in, I think, 2020, Nigeria has about 43 million or so SMEs. Now, the key thing is that how did these SMEs scale up? Because many of these SMEs employ maybe one person or the owner. How did they scale up under an environment where you cannot access any kind of funding, It's not just that government does not provide an enabling environment. Our institutions are not working. We need to tell ourselves the truth about this. When you have a system that you cannot scale up, so you try your best, you build, whatever you can build with your own capacity. Government needs to recognize that you are adding value to society. And by so doing, they need to be able to help you to scale up. Now, the question to the moderators is that I have not, since I've been here yesterday, heard anybody address particularly these questions of helping young people to attain their dreams. There are a lot of talk about, we are doing this, we are doing that, but nobody is actually, addressing the key issues that are making our people poor, that are keeping our young people out of work. Nobody is talking about these things. Please, if you can, by any means, just clarify one or two of these things to the young people sitting here. I'll be glad. Thank you.
Sorry, I wanted to confirm, is it for small businesses or for people generally? So that I know where your
Majority of Nigerians, are in the small-scale business, you understand? And if they can't scale up, they can hire more people.
Okay. No, the reason I said so is that awards were given yesterday to students on innovation, and they were rewarded. So those are students. So I wanted to know if your question is targeted at just SMEs, so that they know where to come from.
My question is targeted at not just the part of the students or any young person, any Nigerian individual that has a business idea, right? And they've started something on their own with a little funding. How do you help them to scale up?
Fantastic. Thank you. SK, you have something?
Yes, Dr. Coker Kim has something to add.
Sorry, please. Just a clarification, I think, particularly what my SUBEV colleague asked. You see, we have skill. We have upskill. We have reskill. So if you are a ready-made, that means you hold the skill to perform. So under the talent acceleration, the skills are most. Then within the vertical line, when you have a skill, then there is something that requires addition within the vertical participation or performance of your duties. So you now what? You upskill. So I give an example with an electrical engineer now want to go into computer engineering. You find he has done something about hardware and electronics, except he is not in the power option or in telecom option. But you can see he will move immediately to what? To computer. That's, he's just upskill. So it's just a little addition you need. But for the skilling, it's entirely living where your occupation or knowledge or skill is at present, which means you don't have. Then you move to another one. For example, like Oscar and my sister here. We want to see a microbiologist holding a microphone. Because he has skill and talent to what? To manage events, and then speak to public, and which means so his microscope is no longer important to him, but what? But the microphone is important. So you see how he moved completely from one area of occupation to another. So it's what we need to hold, please. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. I saw that we're out of time. My screen just went red. But before I close this out, say that again. Okay. Before I close that out, we want to address the question from my lady at the back, and I see that Dikpo wants to take that.
Yeah, so, mic check, yeah. So, Lagos State has got LSETF, Lagos State Employment Trust Fund, doing excellent job. They did excellent job under Akin Oyebode, and now Teju Abisoye, actually leads it. How many of such interventions do we have across the country? So we actually need more state governments all across the country, to invest in grants, in loans, in, all sort of interventions for MSMEs and SMEs. Yes, completely agree that government needs to help, not just the federal government, but state governments. So I think it's, there's a lot more that has to be done, in Lagos State and of course, all across the country. But again, please don't wait for government to solve all of the problems. I don't think that is going to happen.
Thank you. I'm going to close out with one last ask, because this red screen is giving me anxiety small. We're about to close out, and this one I want it to be a shameless plug. So I'm going to ask each of you to share with the audience, to wrap up, one thing that your company is particularly doing to develop talent, and then you can plug the initiative so that they can check it out, so that we can actually benefit. We've given government a lot of, fire right now, and we're talking about collaboration. Let's hear from you. What's your organization at this moment currently doing to accelerate or turbocharge talent development for a new Africa? I will start with my lady, Alice, and then we'll just go around and we'll come back to me so I can also shameless plug my business before I get off the stage. Alice.
Okay. As NILAB, we are open to collaborate across the region and globally. And as I had stated, our core mandate is giving access to knowledge and then access to funding and markets if you are selling your service or you're selling your products across the globe. How we do this is we offer online training on how to prepare your business for funding, how to prepare your business to access partnerships. And by funding, I mean all kinds of funding: equity funding, grant funding, government funding. How do you become ready globally to access this? So this is done in terms of mentorship, coaching, and of course, e-learning kind of programs. Most of our programs are free, and we partner with AfriLabs. I know for the tech community, they know AfriLabs, and AfriLabs runs a lot of free trainings. So if you are interested to learn, to tap into the network that we have, please follow us online. Please talk to the organizers of AOT Lagos who were gracious enough to invite us here so that we can connect directly and support you as an African for the globe. So these opportunities are there.
Thank you so much, Alice. So talk to Alice for funding or knowledge around how to fund. Thank you. Mehdi.
I think after this good session, we are all okay that the new oil of Africa is tech talent. But the true question is how we can extract this value and sell it to the world. And I believe we have two things. From the youth, we need to have a new mindset, collaborative mindset, and problem solving and discipline. And from the private company and the government, they need to work together. They need to put this question as something very important in the top level of politics, to be able to train massively our youth to this field. And to finish, I'm completely open, to work with you guys and to share our experience, to learn from you, and to see how, as African leader, we can put our continent in the top level in the next 10 years.
Thank you so much, Mehdi. So Mehdi is open to partnerships and collaborations, so talk to him about that. Bastore.
Check. Yeah, so basically in ICE, Alex, actually, we don't work with everyone, and we became very selective and watching our resources and energy level. So we only work with champions from the talent side and from the SME side. So that's why I really recognize that question. Thank you so much for that. So basically, for the SMEs, if they still wait for the support from others, which is important anyway, we are not denying that, but they will wait for many years, right? So we started working with those who are trying to change their reality and trying to do something different, but also from the champions of the talent side, we started working with those who are trying to change their context in a way. So basically what we have done, one of the things that we have done that we are proud of over the past, let's say 6 years, that we collaborated with academia, and we didn't speak so much about academia, to integrate part of their annual programs. We have internship programs with us. So our employment program is basically, we have a 3-month free internship. So they join, we see their discipline, their skills, they acquire on the go. We don't care so much about the skills in the beginning, but it's mostly about the discipline and their eagerness to learn and grow. And then afterwards, we offer them a paid internship for the next 3 months. And afterwards, we have a 3-month part-time job. And then if they are very good at what they are doing, we employ them. So this is the journey, it's a 9-month journey that we have with them. And for the SMEs, we started integrating the same model for that. And we had a collaboration with one of the biggest employment companies in Egypt. And they started actually offering these kind of internship, but also part-time jobs for our SMEs. So through this partnership, SMEs and startups were able actually to get good talents on the job, supporting them with almost in an economic, affordable model for both, and then also making sure that the talents are learning a lot and basically acquired acquiring basically hands-on skills on the market, and the SMEs as well are basically doing something on the top line of their companies, but also benefiting the bottom line. So I believe there is much to do there, and I really like what you were mentioning, that it has to go hand in hand, and a lot of these kind of interesting stuff that is happening has to be merged together, and then, you know, we become positively contagious to each other as well. Thank you so much as well.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. If you're a champion and you're looking for internships, talk to Bastwe.
Yeah.
Dr. Diko.
Can you hear me? Yeah, yeah. Okay, yeah. So BTDT Hub trains, you know, young graduates. So we've got a graduate development program, you know, that basically trains fresh graduates on, you know, employability skills, critical thinking, problem solving, leadership skills, you know, basic Microsoft Office packages. So we actually just get them ready for the world of works. And High Impact Careers, you know, organizes tech boot camps in project management, business analysis, data analysis, cybersecurity, and a host of other courses. And we also, you know, train companies, so private sector, public sector, you know, we train them on how to improve their organizational culture. We train them on change management, on strategic management, managing from the middle. So middle managers, you know, the middle child or children are always ignored. And in organizations as well, the middle managers are always ignored. So we train middle managers, upskill them, and get them ready for, you know, for the next level. I'm open to collaboration, you know, across Lagos State, across Africa, and of course, I'm going to be speaking to my fellow panelists after this session. Thank you, Tony.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I'm a middle child, so, and I can neither confirm nor deny what you just said. But yes, I also, on my end, I run a company called Carrot, and we vet, hire, and manage non-tech talent for companies. So I think that there's a lot of tech talent going on, and I love that, and we want to supplement that with non-tech. Our focus is on customer support, operations, and admin, and we work with both local companies and international companies. So come talk to me if you think you're an exceptional non-tech talent and you're looking for your next opportunity, either locally in Nigeria or internationally. We'll support you with that talent acceleration and development. And with that, I want to say a big thank you to my panelists. This was an engaging conversation. Thank you so much. Please give them a round of applause as we walk off the stage.
Sorry to interrupt.
Are we dancing again?
It's not me, it's orders. So first of all, before we get the photo up and we conclude, we have a quick comment or a rebuttal from the chairman, House Committee on Science and Tech, Honorable Olarinwaju Afeni. Wanted to just get a quick word in before we conclude.
Thank you.
Thank you, MC, and thank you, the panelists. There were, I think, 2 issues raised from the audience that I would like to speak to. The first one is from, should I call him my colleague, because he works in government also, from SUBEB, talking about the enabling environment government is supposed to provide. Well, as a lawmaker, I'll speak to the Constitution. What the Constitution says is that the responsibility of government is to provide basic education. And a gentleman here has spoken about, you know, the vertical and the horizontal side of, you know, skill acquisition. Now you have acquired the basic skill, you want to upskill. I don't think that's the responsibility of government. Actually, government is doing a little extra in that regard because they know that improving employability of youth is very key. It's like an investment towards security. It's not about increasing the number of police forces or military. It's not about boots on ground. When we make laws, we think more of compliance than enforcing the laws. Because when there's compliance, you spend little on enforcement. And if everybody decides to break the law, law enforcement gets overwhelmed. So we're thinking more of compliance. Now, you want to learn about AWS and all that. I also know all government agencies budget a lot to training, but they only train their staff on what is going to improve productivity for what the functions of the agency is. I don't know what AWS what you want to learn in AWS that is going to do for SUBEB, but we can also talk in camera about that. There was also an issue raised that Dr. Dipo has spoken to about upscaling for MSMEs. You spoke about LSCTF, the Employment Trust Fund. They are doing a lot to that regard. Also, the federal government has just come up with the Startup Act, and the state government, Lagos State, will always lead, and the others will follow. We are planning to domesticate the Startup Act, where we're going to classify startups. We're in a tech conference here, so we will talk to that regard. The Startup Act will classify innovative companies, and we'll look at incentives that they can use to scale up. We're also looking at investors that are going to invest in these startups, the incentives that will be there for them. So these are things that they are doing to that regard. The Startup Act, a workshop was held just about a month ago, November 11th, and if you are not there, there'll still be an opportunity before this is enacted into law, because the process for a bill turning into a law is we have the first reading and we have the second reading, then we have the public hearing. In the public hearing, we will advertise it as much as possible so that everybody will be invited. Or even if you're not invited, you can come there to come and make your contributions so that we can have additions and subtractions before we make it into law. And I'm sure everybody will be able to benefit from it. Thank you.
Thank you very much. I appreciate that. Once again, to our first plenary session, please can we give them a round of applause? And a quick photo op with the press. The press, where are you at? Can we all have you all stand up, please? Thank you so much. SK, where's SK? Okay, she's around somewhere. So still ahead, ladies and gentlemen, we have a keynote session with the Managing Director of Africa, Tony Blair Institute for Global Change, and also a quick presentation by GTEx. Now, GTEx are the world's largest technology show in the world, and we have their country rep here with us, and they basically represent the Dubai World Trade Center.
Oscar, I'd like the commissioner to please join them as well.
Oh, okay, yeah, that's true.
The SA is already up stage. House Committee Chairman, please join them as well.
Honorable Afeni, would love to have you on the stage as well. Thank you so much. So while we prep for the keynote presentation, please, we do have one more plenary session after the tea break, and that will be on globalization, advantages versus disadvantages, Africa's role in a globalized talent market. The issue of talent is one that we have in abundance in Africa. We have no doubt about that. But when it comes to processing, evaluating, and in creating an enabling environment, that is one of the reasons conferences like the Art of Technology Lagos has come to stay. Ladies and gentlemen, please a round of applause once again. Thank you. Okay, let me say it in Yoruba. Ekpatewo now.
All right, Oscar, we're ready for the keynote.
Okay, so while the team sets up for that, I would crave your indulgence, ladies and gentlemen, to please continue to share your stories online, Twitter, Facebook, Instagram. To those of you online, great to have you with us as well. Thank you for joining day 2 of AOT 4.0.
Rishan Chimboza. Rishan Chimboza is Managing Director of Africa Advisory at the Tony Blair Institute for Global Change. He is responsible for our work across 18 countries in Africa to enhance the effectiveness of governments for developing and emerging states. Because the single most important determinant of a country's success is the quality of its government. He is an inspiring leader who brings a truly optimistic mindset to our work. Prior to joining the Institute, Rishawn worked in investment promotion, extractive industries governance, and strategic communications, advising at executive and ministerial level across Africa, firstly as East and Southern Africa head of mining, oil and gas practice at Adam Smith International, and subsequently as head of the Kenya office for the Pan-African business strategy firm, African Practice. Additionally, Rishawn has provided market entry and policy advocacy support to some of Africa's largest private sector investors in the energy, agriculture, manufacturing, telecommunications, and agriculture sectors. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome Mr. Rishawn Chimboza.
Ladies and gentlemen, please make some noise for the Managing Director of Africa, Tony Blair Institute for Global Change, Rishawn Chimboza.
Thank you very much for that. I was just thinking back to the earlier session, and I was pretty disappointed because I saw the whole of Africa was represented, with the exception of Southern Africa, in the dancing competition. So Oscar and SK, I have a suggestion for you in your next session, and that's to have a dancing competition that includes Southern Africa. And I'm sure against the West Africans, we will clean this one up. So Your Excellencies, honorable ministers, commissioners, distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, and members of the youth, I'm delighted to have this chance to address you today. The Special Advisor to the Governor of Lagos State on Innovation and Technology, Mr. Tuboso Nalake, thank you for extending this invitation for me to share my thoughts on the important and pertinent topic of how we can leverage technology to meet the needs of the millennial generation towards workforce development. As we would say in my part of the world, all protocols observed. My name is Rishawn Chimboza, and I'm the Managing Director for Advisory at the Tony Blair Institute for Global Change. I oversee our work across 18 countries in Africa, advising governments and political leaders on how to deliver better outcomes for their citizens. Our global team works across 4 continents to support leaders with strategy, policy, and delivery. From COVID-19 to the tech revolution and net zero transition, we provide practical policy solutions and embedded support in response to the world's biggest challenges. So what does this mean in simple English? When the Institute was founded 15 years ago, the whole premise for our existence was to work with political leaders in 3 areas, which is strategy, helping those leaders define what their priorities are, and for those of you who are serving in political office or do interact very closely with politicians, you recognize that there are so many priorities that you have to deal with. Our job is to work with those leaders to help them really whittle down what those essential priorities are. Policy, which is pretty self-explanatory. What are the policies to deliver on those priorities? And then delivery, which a lot of you know us for, because at the end of the day, the electorate will judge you based on what you have delivered. So we work very closely with those political leaders to deliver on those priorities. And because of the day and age in which we live in, technology is incredibly important. So for us as the Institute, we have taken our position as a trusted advisor to governments across 18 countries very seriously, to work with them to put technology front and center of what they do. There were various sessions earlier on where the role of government had been discussed. The thing about government, we've spoken about labor mobility, we've spoken about the competition for talent, etc. No matter what you try, you cannot import your government. You work with the government that you have. But government also has a very important role to play within this technology revolution. Often we talk of government providing the enabling environment, But in the fourth industrial revolution, what exactly does that look like? So with a number of governments, what you'll find is technology is usually relegated to maybe the Ministry of ICT or even the IT officer. But in terms of how government is actually delivering on its day-to-day work, technology has scope to do much, much more. There's areas such as digital ID, there's areas such as cloud computing, there's areas such as investment within data centers where government has a very strong role to play. Of course, the private sector can come in as a technical partner, but government has to be driving this. So for us as the Institute, our premise is that the government of the future is one that has to put technology front and center of what it does. So my presentation today will focus on a simple premise, that the governments of the future must work differently to meet the needs of a new tech-savvy electorate comprised primarily of millennial digital natives. So just to recap on some stats that almost every other speaker has spoken to earlier on. By 2030, there will be more than 375 million people under the age of 35 in the African labor market. By 2035, more young people will enter Africa's workforce each year than the rest of the globe combined. And by 2050, a quarter of the world's working age population will be African, making it the largest workforce in the world. The context that we now find ourselves in aggravates this challenge. Younger people are struggling to find work in both traditional and digital economies. This is not news. The COVID-19 pandemic turned on its head what we thought we knew about how to address the needs of young people entering the tech workforce. And well-meaning government programs designed to address these challenges too often have the unintended consequence of fixing one problem and then creating another. In this context, forward-looking and progressive governments that seek to meet the needs of an increasingly tech-savvy electorate must focus on leveraging two things. Number one, policy, and number two, effective delivery, all underpinned by technology, to tackle the development challenges that we face and create new opportunities for young people. A survey completed by Gartner suggests that 61% of employees report greater job satisfaction and productivity when they can take advantage of technology to manage how they work. And this is especially true for the millennial demographic. So this raises the question, what must progressive governments do to accelerate the adoption of tech in the public workforce? I believe that a comprehensive framework of interventions should begin with the following key pillars. Number one, focused government and private sector investment in technology to drive digital transformation and grow the country's innovation ecosystem. Number two, continued investment to widen access to and strengthen the quality of digital connectivity, in particular broadband connectivity and digital device programs. Number three, there should be ongoing efforts on skilling, upskilling, and reskilling our talented digital natives. And number four, consistent progress towards an enabling and transformative governance model with an environment that allows young people to take advantage of the huge possibilities of tomorrow's economy. For a millennial workforce to make the most of opportunities in both the traditional and the digital economies, government must continue investing in their own digital transformation of efforts in technologies such as digital ID, as I mentioned earlier on, data centers, cloud, and infrastructure. Governments need to set a standard of excellence in digital access to public services, both to model good behavior and to give the private sector the tools they need to do the same. These investments lay the foundations for what is possible as our millennials create and take advantage of opportunities that benefit themselves and benefit those who depend on them. Public investment and private partnerships to strengthen innovation ecosystems have underpinned much of the inspiring success we see in Lagos today. And we had the CEO of Sterling Bank yesterday who spoke about the digital ID card for Lagos State. And that's a really practical example of how the private sector can work with the government to increase the importance of technology and also to make sure that technology actually has an impact in the day-to-day lives of people and that there are actually incentives to take on board initiatives such as digital ID. policy frameworks that create opportunities for attracting capital to drive innovation will accelerate the tech workforce by putting funding in the hands of the drivers of employment growth. Nigeria, and in particular Lagos, are emerging leaders in this field. It is a matter of great pride for all of Africa that Nigeria continues to attract such high levels of funding, with close to $2 billion invested in the tech-enabled and startup space in 2021. We need the right policies in place that strengthen the collaboration between the public and the private sectors. By working together, government and business can develop the shared technical competencies which the civil servants and the private sector both need, while developing a framework to instill sound digital competencies in the public sector. Secondly, on connectivity, the stats are scary. While the status of connectivity is improving globally, Africa lags behind. Recent estimates by the ITU paint an increasingly positive picture globally, with approximately 4.9 billion people, or 63% of the world's population, connected by 2021. But 2.9 billion people worldwide are still offline, the majority of whom are our African youth. Currently, internet penetration in Africa stands at 43%, significantly lower than the global average of 66%. Whilst almost 70% of the world's youth are using the internet, only 20% of Africa's female population is using the internet compared to 37% of its male population. I know in the introductory remarks, they'd mentioned that I am an Afro-optimist. I still very am an Africa optimist. But what these numbers illustrate is the scale of opportunity for the continent if we are to get connected, especially since we are starting from a low baseline. Africa's young women are the most severely disadvantaged group globally where connectivity and access to devices is concerned. This means our young people in Africa are missing out on opportunities to make their lives better through participating in the digital economy. They also miss out on accessing basic government services, accessing information and jobs that would make their life better. Connectivity is a key foundational element for harnessing the benefits of technology. Without universal access and connectivity, there can be no conversation about leveraging technology. Skills and talent are the next foundational element we need for the recipe to work. Equipping our youth for the future of work starts right at the school level. This action allows them to use technology as an enabler to the traditional economy and also to take advantage of the future of the work of the true digital economy. The results are already in. Nigerian and Lagos-based startups are expanding across Africa and preparing to take over the world as we speak. Finally, I submit that when we speak about the millennial shift and accelerating the workforce, a key question to ask is, what role does policy and transformative governance play in all of this? Examples of government action that creates opportunities for our youth can be seen everywhere. One of the most exciting ones I have personally seen is how progressive governments are modifying their procurement laws, not only to create quotas for the participation of their youth, but also to encourage innovative partnerships for issues like revenue sharing models. This is a win-win for our young innovators. Government service delivery simultaneously bolstered by cutting-edge technology and itself creating jobs for young people. On transformative governance, we at the Institute hold a core belief that the transformational change will be accelerated when leaders and policymakers join together with innovators to deliver change for their people. What I've spoken about today, putting the right policy in place to address connectivity, skills, and funding, speaks directly to a growing and restless section of the labor market. And if we take a step back, we can see that to empower the workforce, we need to first catalyze momentum. We can catalyze the right partnerships with private sector players that I see in the room today. We can catalyze the right funding opportunities with the funding partners and the donors that are sitting in this room. And we can catalyze the right knowledge exchange with this group of decision makers and senior officials. Governments cannot achieve these digital transformation ambitions alone. They need close collaboration with the private sector to encourage and sustain investments that build the necessary infrastructure, train our youth, and put in place the right policies through an inclusive and consultative process. And so to action, ladies and gentlemen. The time is now. With that said, thank you all very much, and I'm really looking forward to the rest of today's program. Thank you.
Thank you. Ladies and gentlemen, please a round of applause to Rishon Chimboza. Hey, Rishon, please tell TB to return my WhatsApp messages. I call him TB, Tony Blair. Can we have his mic up? Yeah, he's been... Okay. Just tell him I said hi.
Next time.
Thank you so much. Once again, the Managing Director of Africa, Tony Blair, Institute for Global Change. So before our plenary session, we have a quick presentation for you. Now, I'm not sure how many are aware, but the biggest technological gathering in the world happens in Dubai. It's called the GITEX. So while the gentleman is there, let me get off on stage. So we do have them. It's owned by the Dubai World Trade Center. They own GITEX, and it is the largest technology show in the world. But before we have a speaker representative, please turn your attention to the multimedia screen. If you're for the second plenary session, please do make your way to where SK is so we can get you ready for that. I think tea has been distributed so that we can move on very quickly.
So
SK?
what it means is that I'm expecting Professor Oluwatoyin Ogudipe, Adebola Deji Krumi, Biola Ojo, Olumide Balogun, Professor Olayinka David West, and Dr. Abiola Salami. Can you please come towards my end? All right, over to you, Oscar.
Thank you so much. So this, after this clips, then we'll move on to the next one. Please turn your attention to the multimedia screen from one of the major partners of AOT Lagos 4.0, GITEX. Thank you.
It has been a terrible 4 days for tech stocks. What are we looking at here?
potential for tech on the continent is limitless, and the time for action is now.
Do make welcome the President and CEO, Pinnacle International Consulting. They are the country rep for Dubai World Trade Center, the owners of GITEX, which is the Gulf Information Technology Exhibition, the largest technology show in the world. Please do make welcome Mr. Akonde Ojo. I'm sure we can do much better than that, people. Let's show Mr. Ojo some love.
I don't know if you can hear me. Good afternoon, everyone. I'm happy to be here this morning or this afternoon. As you have seen the video clips we have shown, those are the events we have for next year. So if you are interested, please let us know. I'll be very brief. I would like to thank all of you and commend the entire Lagos State team under the Governor Sanwo-Olu for creating platforms like this to endanger business growth. Once again, my name is Akonde Ojo. I'm the President and CEO of Pinnacle International Consulting. So we are the country representative for Dubai World Trade Center, Nigeria and West Africa. And then the DWTC, that is stand for Dubai World Trade Center in short, is the organizer of GITEX Global and is the world's largest technology and startup event, hosting over 200,000 people from about 164 countries, over 200 government entities, and over 80 big global corporate players. Next year, 2023, GITEX is coming to Africa with GITEX Africa, to be hosted by Morocco in May 2023. It is a showpiece gathering to showcase Africa uniquely to the rest of the world and allow African businesses and government entities explore intra-continental opportunities. For private businesses or government organizations seeking to explore opportunities beyond local, GITEX Africa is the platform to address those needs. Pinnacle International Consulting, we are here to help and support your growth plans, so talk to us. So even much more for startups, it's called the North Star. Because of time, we didn't get to show you some of the videos. So it's the world's largest startup gathering for startups. So that one will take place in Dubai, next year, May, from May 10th to the 12th. So we are here to assist Nigerian startups leverage this global exposure to mentorship and funding with the support of National Information Technology Development Agency, NIDA, Lagos State Government, and other strategic stakeholders. Since 2023, Pinnacle has worked closely with all these institutions, and then we have promoted over 60 Nigerian organizations to showcase in Dubai. So the results have been outstanding so far. We are here to let more Nigerian businesses and startups be part of these outstanding opportunities. So I'm going to end my presentation here. So I thank you all for listening, and I wish you all the best.
Fantastic. Thank you so much, Mr. Akonde Ojo. Over to you, SK.
All right, we're set for the second session. The second plenary session, and this time around, we're looking at globalization, advantages versus disadvantages, Africa's role in a globalized talent market. Let's have the profile of the lead discussant.
Professor Oluwatoyin Ogundipe, Chairman, Lagos State Research and Innovation Council.
Professor Oluwatoyin Ogundipe is an academia and a professor of botany. He served as the 12th Vice Chancellor of the University of Lagos from November 2017 to November 2022. Professor Ogundipe began his academic career at the University of Lagos as a lecturer, where he rose to the rank of Professor of Botany in 2002. He was Dean, School of Postgraduate Studies from August 2007 to July 2011, and Director, Academic Planning Unit from April 2012 to April 2016. Since taking over on November 12, 2017 as the Deputy Vice Chancellor of the University of Lagos, there has been a renaissance in demand-driven research in the university, and town-gown relationship is being renewed. Similarly, he's been working assiduously to promote entrepreneurship among students of the university. Professor Ogundipe holds a PhD in Botany, IFE, and MBA Unilag. Professor Ogundipe has attended training in the University of Johannesburg, South Africa, University of Reading, UK, University of Cambridge, UK, University of Johannesburg, SA, Harvard University, USA, and Cumming Institute of Botany, China. His area of research includes, but not limited to, molecular plant taxonomy and biosystematics, forensic botany, cytogenetics, ethnobotany, paleobotany, and ecological conservation.
Ladies and gentlemen, your lead discussant for the plenary session, Professor Oluwatoyin Ogundipe.
Together for him. Our lead discussant for today, Professor Oluwatoyin Ogundipe. To also join him, I'd like to invite the founder of Ideation Hub Africa. Please welcome Adebola Deji Kurumi. To also join them, I'd like to call on the Special Advisor, Innovation and Technology, Lagos State. Please welcome Mr. Tubosun Alake. Up next, the Managing Partner, People Capacity Management. Please welcome Biola Ojo. Head of Google Consumer Apps in Sub-Saharan Africa. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Olumide Balogun. Associate Dean, Lagos Business School. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome Professor Olayinka David West. And the moderator, Forbes Council member, ladies and gentlemen, Dr. Abiola Salami.
Thank you and good afternoon. It's such a powerful panel. We have two professors on this panel, in case you've not noticed. I would like to call on the first professor, who is the lead discussant, to take charge, and after some 10-15 minutes of his thoughts, then we come back to the panel to share. So, Prof, sir, over to you.
Good morning, or we are now in the second part of the day. Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Today we'll be talking about the globalization. We look at the advantages and disadvantages, especially in Africa where we are now, so that we'll be able to project into the future. I will start from this angle, saying that the second half of this century is for Africa. And globally, they are talking about that. How do we get fitted and get prepared for this scheme? The setting of the agenda is starting with the what I will call the presentation. Number 2, what globalization is all about, so that some of our students who are here, they have been hearing about globalization. What is it about? The third one is what are the advantages and disadvantages of this issue of globalization, and what are the drivers of globalization's opportunity? Number 5, where in the world is Africa fitted into concerning this issue of globalization? Number 6, if globalization is what we are talking about, then we look at the Industrial Revolution. Where can we fit into this issue of Industrial Revolution? The 7th one is about the present global talent market in this area of globalization. Can Africa actually get fitted into the issue of globalization? Number 9, where is Lagos going to fit into in this area of globalization? Can Lagos become the digital talent base for Africa and for Nigeria? So I will start with the first one, and that is, what is globalization? Depending on the way you look at it, if you look at the definition of IMF, saying that the growing economic interdependence of countries worldwide through the increasing volume and a variety of cross-border transaction in goods and other elements that can be used for transaction. And if you look at the way the WHO look at it, they are saying that it's the increased interconnectivity and interdependence of countries and also people. But UNESCO said that globalization is a set of economic and social, including technological, political, and cultural structures and processes of interaction between one country and the other, and between people from one country and another country. Now, what are the pros and cons? The pros and cons of globalization. I always tell people one thing, for those people who are above 50 years here, before we start talking about cell phone. You know, in the past, somebody can just go to one village and come back, and they will take the picture of that person at the airport, and they will say, we went for global competition, and we are back with the World Cup. But now, if you say anything like that, it's just a matter of some of these young guys going to online and go to the search machine and go and look out for that competition if it actually took place. So you can understand what I'm talking about when we are saying this issue of globalization. So what are the pros and cons? Let me take another example quickly, because I have been lecturing in the University of Lagos for the past 32 years now. When I came into the system, it was very easy for you to teach students and to walk out of the classroom. But now, as you are talking to the student, I want you to know that the students are searching. When you mention any topic, they will go and search, and making sure that you did not, there is no plagiarism. And if there is any plagiarism, they will turn you to, you know what I mean. And that lecturer will now get annoyed, not knowing that as he's talking, the students are searching to know if that lecturer is original in the presentation. So looking at it from that angle, you now look at what are the pros and cons concerning the issue of globalization. The first one is that the better standard of living, that is global access to information. I've given you 2 examples now. Information, you have people who are working, who are staying in Nigeria. I know of somebody who is in this country and is working for 2 companies outside this country. So you can see that that is one advantage of this issue of globalization. Then we have the larger market for goods and services across the borders. You don't need to stay in UK to order for any, to go to Harrods, to go and do your shopping. Right here in Lagos, either you are in Shomolu, you are in Mushin, you are in VI, you can order for your product anywhere in the world and you will get it. And they will not say that because you are ordering for that product from Mushin, will not attend to you. We prefer to attend to somebody from VI. No, as long as you have your money to transact your business, they will be ready to attend to you. The other advantage is in the area of education, knowledge, and other factors that are related to this. Now, somebody will be in Lagos and you'll be able to attend to any lectures outside the country, within the country. I remember when the federal government gave the directive that schools should resume in Nigeria in 2020 after the COVID issue. We look at it in the University of Lagos and we came to the conclusion that there are things that other universities will do and they will get away with, which we cannot do it in Unilag. I always give one example of a university in this country, the vice chancellor knowing that the non-teaching staff were on strike and the following day they are going to lock up the gate. What he did was to direct some people to go and remove the gate before the following day. If you try it in the University of Lagos, even CNS will carry the news because of our location. So what we did was to bring in the issue of virtual learning, and we started our lectures online, did our exams online. So some of those students that were abroad, that were locked down abroad, sorry to use that word, lockdown, who were outside the country, they were able to do the exams outside the country. And even now, in the University of Lagos, a class that is higher than 500, we split it into two so that they can have their lectures virtually. But in the past, when we were younger, in the system, you talk about virtual learning. Say, no. You talk about integrity, you talk about all those things, but you can see what COVID brought into focus. The other advantage is the opportunity to work closely together through technology platform. Then what are the disadvantages? The disadvantages. Number one, unhealthy competition for Africa. Unhealthy competition for Africa. And that is why we need to get it right. We need to get it right in Africa. The second one, which is very sad, but which has come into focus, that is the erosion of African culture as a result of globalization. You just imagine now that because of the issue of globalization and what the children are viewing online, you see a child telling the father, a child telling his mother, eyeball to eyeball, mommy, is it true? I just imagine when we were younger, for you to tell your mom or to tell your dad, eyeball to eyeball, is it true? I'm sure if you are closer to that dad, you will see star that day. Because by the time he gives you what we call a dirty slap, next time you will not say eyeball to eyeball. But now these children will tell you, or even tell the lecturer, what you are presenting, I think, you will not even say, I think, is faulty. Say, excuse me, sir. Say, yes, what do I say? Say, what you are saying is wrong. But you know, in our time, if you say that, you are going to earn F at the end of the day. The third disadvantage is reduced sovereignty of African states because of this problem of globalization, and also increased inequalities. Let's look at the drivers of globalization. Advancement in technology. Every day you find out that the iPhone that you bought last year, this year again they come up with another one, the one that you don't need to use SIM card, and if you are using Airtel, they have not migrated to that platform. Maybe MTN has migrated to that platform. So you can see the issue of advancement in technology, which is part of the reason why we have a program like this. The cost of this is on the high side now. Then there's competition. Apart from competition, you have the international trade. We just saw what happened in Dubai. Like I told you several years back, if you talk about Dubai, it's as if you are going to somewhere that is outside this planet. But right now in your room, in your bedroom, you look at activities going on in Dubai. And also the issue of international investment. And you can see the investment coming into Lagos through a platform like this. That is the Art of Technology platform. Let's look at the issue of Africa and globalization. That's, we are coming home now gradually. Africa and globalization. How ready is Africa for 2050? How ready is Africa for 2050? Because the direction the world is looking at now is Africa. But are we ready? So part of this program is to get Africa, to get Nigeria, to get Lagos ready for that big vision. Has Africa taken sufficient advantages of globalization? I would say no. Number two, the Africa benefiting, has Africa actually benefited from the issue of globalization? I would say no. Number three, will the world wait for Africa to catch up? I would say no, because now there's nobody that is waiting for any other person. And you can see that it's the part of the advantage of putting up a program like this. And now let us go to the issue of industrial revolution that we have been talking about. As far back as 1800, we talk about the first industrial revolution. The second one started in 1870. The third one started in 1969. We are talking about the fourth industrial revolution. Is Nigeria ready for the fourth industrial revolution? We are still, I'm a scientist, I will tell you that we are still struggling with the fourth industrial revolution. And that is the reason why we need to appreciate the governor of Lagos State for putting up a program like this so that we can get ready for the fourth industrial revolution. What are my thoughts concerning the discussion that we are going to have? Number one, opportunities abound for us in the present global talent market. There are opportunities. I want you to know that these young ones that we have now, like I did mention earlier on, that some of them who are our students, even concerning what we do in the University of Lagos now, these children, these young ones, they have mad ideas. I want to quote the Minister of Communication and Digital Economy. Always say that these youths, these Nigerian youths, are full of ideas. They have mad ideas. And bringing up a program like this is to make sure that we harness those ideas to the benefit of the state, to the benefit of this country, so that those ideas will not go into the cemetery. The second point is Nigeria must lead Africa to rise up to the expectation. With our population, you are talking of a population that is over 200 million. We need to take advantage of that population. We need to take advantage of the size of the people that we have in this country. And we need to also appreciate Lagos State for what they have put together. In this country now, you have the highest population of people who are really active in every of this space in Lagos State. So we need to do everything possible to get every one of these young ones on board so that they will be able to generate funds. They will be able to employ people that will work with them. The third one, the time is now for us to be proactive and act. This is the time. So I want to encourage all the young ones who are here. This is your time. Don't look at what other people are saying. Like somebody said yesterday, I'm not saying if you want to japa, you can japa. But once the pipe is full of this, the flow in the pipe is full, you find out that wherever you are all over the world, you will always be relevant. Lagos must take our place concerning this. And I'm encouraged that we are really getting fitted so that Lagos State will take our place on this. And a program like this is to activate that potential that is in this youth, to activate the potential so that you not go to sleep. You know that there are challenges locally and globally.
And I want to encourage you youth in Nigeria, whether you believe this or not, the labor market in Nigeria is still cheap. And most of these companies are moving out of, I don't want to mention those countries, they are moving out of, let me mention one now, Malaysia. They are moving out of Malaysia because it's expensive for those people to be maintained there. They will prefer to come to countries like Nigeria. So you need to get yourself ready and latch into that opportunity. So the time is now for you to act. The time is now for you to get ready. The time is now for you to use that opportunity and move to the next level. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Professor Oluwatoyin Ogudikwe, for the depth of insight and the inspiration that you're giving to all young people here who have listened. So our conversation, once again, is globalization, advantages versus disadvantages, Africa's role in a globalized talent market. And from one professor to another professor, the Associate Dean of Lagos Business School, my professor, Professor Olayinka David West, I would like to ask, how can our learning system attribute to the qualities of a market in Nigeria? For this conversation we're having, how can our learning system, attribute to the qualities and help us, to build this global talent?
Okay. Good afternoon, everyone, and thank you. It's a pleasure to be here. I think this is my first, actually, so this is a terrible confession. Now, being a learner as well as a provider of learning, I'll come at it from the provider side first. Learning is really in three domains. Cognitive learning, which is what do we know, right? What do we teach? What do we transmit? There's also a psychomotor domain in terms of what do we do, because there's a lot of activity that we need to learn, and this is where the skills comes in. And then the third side of learning that we often ignore is the affective domain. How should we feel? One of the things about learning is that it has to excite you. It's not something that you should feel that you have to go through torturous, arduous moments to learn and engage, because it's not what you know, it's what you do with what you know that drives economic activity. Yeah. And that's one thing we always need to put on the table. So peer learning is important. Reverse mentoring is important, because today there's a lot we're learning from the millennials that we didn't learn in school. So we have to open our minds to the fact that learning can come top down, bottom up, or any direction. So going back to how do we do this and learning strategies, first of all, I think it's really, and I think this came out in the last panel, how do we build a collaborative ecosystem? Because this is not one person to do it alone. How do we build a collaborative ecosystem, number one? Number two, how do we envision what we want learning to look like and what we want learning to be able to do for us, right? The vision is important, and then being deliberate and intentional about how we're going to do it and who is going to do what. Because there's a lot of partners on the table, but it's also ensuring that we're not replicating, but we're actually slicing up the cake and ensuring that we're moving the needle further on. The next thing we also need to think about is how do we build both sides of the market? And I say both sides of the market is we need to think about the supply side, which we're thinking about how do we build new talent, new skills, especially the skills of the workforce of the future. But then again, I think this came out in the last panel as well. How do we build the demand side? We're thinking about global talent, but don't forget that we still have local companies and local economies to develop. How do I ensure that the 42 million micro, small, and medium businesses can also begin to thrive using the digital capabilities that we're creating? So for me, it's also about increasing the absorption capacity of our local economies to ensure that we can build. And together with the supply side and the demand side, you find out that the social and institutional problems we have in Africa, the solutions will only come from Africans. They're not going to come imported from anywhere. So we need to build them locally. So if you want to Jaqua we're going to Jakwa, but we're going to build other people's economies. How do we ensure that we retain the talent here to build our own economies? And then that also makes Nigeria, Africa, part of the global economy, not just the global workforce. Thank you.
Yeah, well, very well said. Very well said. Very well said. Just to mention that if you are trying to put your hands together, do it so we know that's what you are trying to do. Thank you. Very well said. So let me go to Olumide Balogun, the head of Google Consumer Apps in Sub-Saharan Africa. Let's scale it down to the individual now. What must one do to accelerate a globalized talent? What should one do in this conversation?
You know, I think a lot about my experience in technology, and having been in the room, you know, since morning, and with all the conversation, I feel a little bit like there's a lot of blame going around the room. I feel like there's young people saying the government is to blame. And then I feel like government is saying, you know, the young people are not taking enough opportunity. And then the private sector, maybe as well, you know, the government or people could say that we're not doing as much. You know, when you say you there, the perspective of you is the perspective of where you sit. If we don't take anything away from this conference, please let us take away the fact that there's something that everyone can do. It's not a marketing campaign. It's not a campaign to come and blame Shane. Because the fact is, everyone has a part to play. So let's not make this you know, we came and then we talked. We have to think about, I'm going away from this Art of Technology conference. What can government do that we're not already doing? And I think one of those things are, how do we build an enabling environment? How do we build the right policies that are not considered extractive policies? They say vision is the ability to see the invisible. What are we not seeing? I mean, we're very privileged to be here and we're talking about human capital development. So that's progress. How do we do that in an accelerated manner? And I think that that's what I would like for government, you know, to take away, government officials here, because at the end of the day, we also have families. And if nothing at all, we want to leave a legacy. So when we build these policies, it's important for us to make sure that we have the right people in the room who are contributing to the policy. Because I dare say, and I work in technology, I always say that my job, I am in the business of helping large tech companies understand African users so that we can build products for them. But that means I need to understand users. I can't build for who I don't understand. Now, when it comes to individuals, you have to understand the young people in the room. What policies did we build before we exported Afrobeat? There were no policies, largely. But today we all talk about the fact that we go and we hear Buga or we hear Davido and we're excited and it gives us pride. So we have to build that road. You have to be committed to that. Because if you spend time talking about the things you cannot control, largely, you will forget the things that you can. Now, for private institutions, I think it's important to think about how you also add value and create value. They say a rising tide lifts all boats. You know, I'm not here to, you know, talk about some of the things that Google has done. But I always say to the team, you know, it's not about us. We consider ourselves a thought-leading organization. How do we make sure that we're inspiring other organizations to do that? This year, we invested $4 million in 60 startups, non-equity funding. So they get $100,000, $200,000 in cloud credits. I like Prof was saying to me down when we were talking, she was like, how do we make sure that we're supporting these businesses and we're not just handing them cash? Because financial discipline is something that we don't teach in schools.
Yeah.
You're an MD of a company, you have 3,000 users, the next thing is you want a Prado car. Because the MD of Zenith Bank is... So private organizations need to think about how we also contribute to that. Thank you.
Thank you. Let us remember, when we focus on the things we can't control, then we are unable to focus on the things we can control. So in taking personal responsibilities, let us focus on the things that we can control. So from the place of taking personal responsibility to a question I'll be asking the founder of Ideation Hub Africa, Adebola Dejikurumi, we would like to call her DDK. The question is, so how can we position our African talent, at the global feet? How do we now begin to do that?
Position our local talent in a globalized economy. I think that all the things we've heard today are sort of leading us to big conclusions. And I'm hopeful that part of the role that our panelists or our moderators will play will be to highlight those big outcomes. I would love to speak about that positioning within the globalized economy along 3 lines. The first is we have to be careful about the premium or the focus that we're placing on the global economy and the role of African talents. We cannot transition to the conversations around what the future looks like for our talent in the global economy if we haven't highlighted what the future looks like or what today can mean for our talents within African economies. Except we start to have conversations around what a young person is required to do and how they are meant to show up when they're within a Nigerian, locally founded MSME, we cannot transition to talking about positioning within the global economy. Because we're creating a monster unconsciously. We're having all these global conversations that is heightening the aspirational index of the average young person. Everybody wants to get into Google and Microsoft and Apple, but the young 23-year-old fresh out of school is not able to give their best within an Abiola Champ & Co. or within a DDK Ventures. Everyone is within these small businesses, and they're not looking at these organizations as a perfect context to grow expertise, to grow discipline, to grow capacity and skills, and maximize the ability for problem solving and intrapreneurship. This is what I am saying. You are seeking an opportunity to work within a significantly specialized context of the global economy, where you are just placed within a particular unit and it's all a vertical. But you don't know what really helps you grow that specialization. Is you're working in a 4-man business, you see, and you are sometimes the training manager, sometimes you are in Isaleko buying the pens and looking out for you're the branding manager as well. You are sometimes on social media, you're submitting requisitions, you are in big meetings with stakeholders who think that you guys are that big, but it's just that multilateral expansion of possibilities because you are everywhere. Now, I'm going to give a simple example. I worked within a small consulting business when I started out my career, and I was a HR person. And in that role, within 2 years, I had gone through the entire value chain of human resource consulting. I was some days in performance management, some days I was in benefits and compensation, some days I was in training, some days I was doing HR matrix management, just playing around because we were just a few hands. And the CEO, she know the look face. She's just like, Debola, how far? Work on it. You see. But the average young person today is like, you are paying me 70,000, you want to kill me. And they're permanently online looking for that remote product management role. we are creating a monster of so many half-baked local talents earning in dollars in this vast remote space. And the moment you have just a certain degree of that tech expertise, there is a project you can jump on, but you are not exactly a full-rounded, comprehensive talent that can really play in the global economy. So let's fix home, and let's raise a new generation of serious-minded, visionary young people who take their work with a sense of CEO-grade ownership. That's the first thing. And I think it's a really important thing. You know, because I'm a young, small business owner myself, and every time that I am paying these millions of naira, going out in monthly salaries, I know that some people on my team think they're earning 120 and they're feeling underpaid. But I'm just shaking my head like, you better maximize this opportunity to learn and grow, because you really think that your commercial value is very high. But it's not that high. It's not as high as you think it is. And when rubber meets the road and you are done with that particular project that you've been hired by the Indian or the American firm for, you're not yet a global talent and you're not that competitive. I would just speak to one more thing so that I can let my colleagues also share their thoughts. I think when it comes to positioning, because to balance it, we've got some extraordinary talent, and what a lot of global research is saying to us today is that Africa is becoming the hot spot and is becoming an emerging strong tech ecosystem that is going to revolutionize the global economy. And we reckon with that. When it comes to positioning, I have 3 subsets, and I will not break them down, but it's first in telling our stories better. And I know we hear it all the time, but the reason I know that one of the big reasons I still feel like we're not doing good enough with telling our stories is you have to see the average serial entrepreneur in Silicon Valley. And sometimes what they're working on is as simple as bathroom slippers. And you let them get into Dragon's Den, and you hear the way they talk about this thing. It blows my mind. I'm like, okay, Debola, you need to go figure out your story, because it's not pristine yet. And this huge investment revolution that is hitting the continent, and all kinds of investments coming in, it's really about the power of storytelling. Sadly, we've had young African startup owners tell stories that don't match the value they're creating. But we have to tell our stories better and export a new brand about the continent that could awaken engagement. I think I will just stop here.
Okay.
But thank you for the opportunity.
Okay, thank you very much. But just to let you know that I'll still come to you to conclude the other 2. And it's great that you're talking about storytelling. One of the panels earlier, I think it's today or maybe yesterday, something came out about developing soft skills, and somebody mentioned communication skills, which is essential. So for you to appropriately, the technical word is pitch. For you to appropriately pitch your idea, it's about knowing how to communicate effectively. Like you said, somebody may be selling the bathroom slippers, but the way they will share the story, you would see the vision, right? You see the vision in the heart of the individual. Okay, so from a lady to another lady, I'm reserving our hosts to be the last person I will ask the question, and that's the CEO and founder of People Capacity Management, Biola Ojo. So my question is, for organizations, how can they attract great talents to work with them?
Okay, thank you for that question. I think that's a major question that a lot of CEOs are asking now. Everybody is concerned about how to attract talent. And I say that there is a lot of emphasis on trying to attract talent. At the same time, we also have to place emphasis on how to actually retain this talent. We all agree that there is a dearth of talent, right? And what I say to people is, it's congratulations. It means that the opportunities are there. So for everyone that is seated out here right now, it means there is an opportunity for you to shine. There's an opportunity for you to become a global talent. And when we talk about global talent, people believe that you become a global talent when you leave the shores of Nigeria and then you move to America or you move somewhere else. I say to my employees and I say to myself that I'm a global talent, but I operate from Lagos, Nigeria, and I'm super proud of that. You know, for organizations to be able to attract talent, one is it's not just about being competitive. And I hear a lot of people talk about, oh, you have to be competitive in terms of the salaries and the benefits. I happen to work in an organization in the past, Great Place to Work, and we were so concerned about, okay, what actually keeps talent, you know, and we realized from our survey over the years that people, yes, in as much as we say we want to earn better pay, you realize that a lot of people are actually not so concerned about the pay. What they are more concerned about is actually the workplace, the employee experience. They are more concerned about the culture that you promote as an organization. So if you are a CEO and you are concerned about how do you attract talent, I would say the first thing would be for you to ensure that you have a workplace culture that is good enough to be able to attract this great talent. You also want to be able to promote an organization where the employees within the business are super proud of the brand, that they go out there and they are the ones advocating for you. So I can use my organization as a case study. The average age of employees within my business is about, I think they're about 23. And for everyone that we recruit into the business, you realize that the employees are the ones that say, oh, I have this person, I know this person. They are super proud to refer people to the business. And the only reason why they can do that is because they enjoy the job they do. They love the culture that we promote as an organization. I say to people, when we're running interviews for employees, we are not quick to take in people. I understand the fact that there is a dearth of talent, but then we are always watching out for that person that is eager to come to the office on a daily basis. So as part of one of the few things I say to people is, I can bet it with you that whatever remuneration that I give you will not be commensurate with the effort that you put into the job. I can tell you that for free. But one thing that will keep you coming back is the fact that you enjoy what you do, is the passion. And that is what I want to see in every employee that comes into the organization. You know, so build a great workplace culture, ensure that the employee experience is great right from the onboarding process. Ensure that you also build a great network of an alumni, of people that have left the organization that are able to refer other people to your organization. I think that's the major thing that we have to do.
Very well said. Very well said. Just additional thoughts that in as much as organizations are seeking to attract great talent, it is also important for organizations to commit to developing great talent. It is very important, you know, that we commit to developing great talent. And for the talents in the room as well, you are not great talent because your friends say so. You are great talent because you commit to learning. I mean, one of my favorite quotes says that the illiterate of the 21st century will be about those that cannot learn, relearn, and unlearn. So that you're a great talent, it means you commit to ongoing learning, relearning, you know, and unlearning. And just another quick thought that while we are recruiting great talent organizations, we should also just be looking for people with the right attitude. Skills can be acquired, knowledge can be acquired, but attitude is key. And when that talent that doesn't look so great has the right attitude, and you commit to developing the person, you have a pipeline of great talent in your organization. Okay, I thought I deserve a round of applause for that too. So to our host, Mr. Olabtubosun Alake, I know that there's been questions on the government, you know, bashing left, right, and center. I just want to ask you, I know that one of the answers to this question is the AOT already, right? I just want to ask more so how can we sustainably provide a system that supports talent globalization? You know?
Thank you very much. I think, first of all, let me commend all my colleagues on this panel. They've given fantastic contributions, fantastic answers. In fact, when my brother from Google and my sister here were talking, I said, maybe I should go and sit down now. You know, so, but I think I work in the public sector now, but a few years ago I was in the private sector. I think there is a common denominator that we address very little of, and it's culture, right? I have helped companies deploy ERP systems, applications, and things like that. We do similar things in the public sector as well. And I see, you know, the differences and commonalities. And the differences between the public and the private are not the issue, but it's the commonalities. And that there's a singular commonality I see, and it's culture. The question is, what kind of culture are we developing in Nigeria that can answer what is happening globally? Right? What kind of culture construct? And by culture, I don't mean Yoruba, Igbo, Hausa, your colors, what you wear. No. Yeah. I'm talking about your value system, right? What you consider important. Your value system is what will get you up in the morning, right? Your value system, what you consider very, very important, is what would actually drive your economy. I've had this conversation a lot of times with different people across HR. I was in HR too for a number of years, you know, and I saw the difference between a very productive worker and somebody that was just coasting. And it was the value mentality they had, right? It was, look, do I just quickly do this and get to that spot so that they can take it, and at the end of the month, my quarterly review says I've done it? Or do I really want to invest some time in bringing my teammates, right, to get to that place so that, you know, we all get there, and, you know, the sum of the, you know, the parts is bigger than the whole. Yes. Do you understand? So it's the most important thing I think we are missing as even a country is culture, right? How do we measure on the delayed gratification side, right? As a country, right? Are we able to stop spending, right? Even in homes, are you able to say to people that, look, you need to tighten your belt for a bigger prize in 10 years, as opposed to, you know what, right now, let me quickly, and you know that would affect your learning, it will affect your productivity, it will affect how your country even develops products. I've been a product manager as well, and I can tell you some of the best product managers, right, have the longest, I've seen them have some of the longest leases of delayed gratification, right? And so for me, it's about not just teaching skills, but addressing the culture issue that goes in tandem with the hard skills. And you know me, I don't call them soft skills. I actually call them the hard skills, right? In Nigeria today, what is our definition? What is our value system on power distance index? How much do we tolerate inequality, right? That in itself can help you create products to equalize inequalities, right? Whether it's products for disabled people, right? Because you are so perturbed that disabled people are not able to enjoy the same things able-bodied people do, right? And so that inequality perturbs your heart. Then you start on a mission. You're like, you know what? I'm going to make sure that this person that can't talk, they get something that can. And then you go through. So culture, in my mind, is one of the ways we can answer the global question. Nigeria's culture needs to change. Thank you.
Okay, so very quickly, Olumide.
That's an incredible contribution, by the way, to Botswana. So there are things we need to do, intentional, practical things. Number one, I think it's important for the government to think about what are our values. You know, Prof was talking about the fact that with globalization, you cannot help the fact that there are things that will seep in. But when you have a value system that you communicate, for a lot of people growing up here, when you were leaving your home, your parents will tell you all the time, remember whose child you are. They will tell you, they ring it in your ear. So wherever it is that you go, irrespective of what is obtained there, you know what your values are. The problem we have with the country today is we don't know what our values are. Who are we? So I would like for the government to think about a campaign. Every day, we should be communicating it. We are hardworking people. We are creative people. We solve problems. And the more we do that, we change the programming. Because we've been programmed for decades. There are people here that have incredible ideas, but they cannot even voice it. Because the culture, me and Prof, we're talking about the fact that we love that this is a diverse panel.
Yeah.
Wherever I go, if I see that the panel is not diverse, I don't want to speak. We have to change certain things, and it's going to be with constant communication. So that one is an action point that I would like to put at the feet of the government.
With constant communication, and let me add, with constant modeling as well. We say it, we do it. Debola.
What my colleague has just shared is profound on many levels. And what we know about some of the most powerful economies in the world are those that pull themselves out of the drudgery of corruption and poverty and disadvantage into becoming world powers. They had to adopt a national vision, a national mission, a national value system. But here is what I want to add. As long as we place this premium on the government as the key drivers of a value reorientation or to be the champions of, a cultural rebirth, we are not going to get to where we want to go. There are people who are seated here who would write 8:38 a.m. as arrival, though they came 9:45. There are people who are seated here who will earn only to Google their way to their next job, constantly on social media, permanently on other people's timelines, earning money that they want to use to buy what they don't need, to impress people they don't like. There are people seated here who would always violate the traffic light, who will be unkind to law enforcement agents, who have never paid their taxes, and they have been in business earning from Nigeria's economy. So until we stand up from this conversation and say to ourselves that we will be champions of the change that we want to see, we might have on paper, I'm constantly providing policy advisory for 7 African countries. Permit me to just put word out concerning one of these countries. Of all the African countries I'm working with, the country we have seen the fastest, most defining, what we call rapid and radical emergence of the outcomes, the development outcomes we're working on, has been Rwanda. Why? Because it's not just been about policy papers, white papers, executive will, political engagement. It's been about a people who individually perceive themselves to be champions and ambassadors of a future reality that they have seen and they are sold out to. Every time that you throw that gala rap out there, on the streets, every time that you violate the traffic light, every time that you lie to your boss, every time you don't pay your taxes, every time you use, foul language in conversing with your employee, every time you take 4 jobs, because that is one of the biggest crises of a globalized talent market. It's that you are working with an organization, but because it's remote and flexi working, you are also EA to your CEO's best friend, and you've taken a product management role somewhere. You are everywhere and you're dissipated. Every time we act that way, we are violating our national conscience, and that is not government's business. This is my submission.
Now, I hope we all observe that this is AOT, the art of technology, and the conversation is shifting to a core of our being, which is about culture. a quote comes to mind that I wanted to change the world. When I was young, I wanted to change the world, and I realized I couldn't change the world, that perhaps I can try with my country. And then I tried to change my country, and I could not achieve anything. Then I tried to change my state, I could not. Then I tried to change my family, and I could not. And I realized that the person I am supposed to pay attention to changing is the man or the woman in the mirror. My question, everybody, when you look at the mirror, who do you see? So it's again back to placing personal responsibility, taking personal responsibility for our change, for the thing that we're looking at. This is AOT, people, and I'm loving this. A round of applause for the hosts, the chief host, everybody that is making this happen. You know, I'm really liking this. Prof, that's Professor Oluwatoyin Ogundipe. We have two professors. This is a diverse panel, and I'm really liking it. I mean, you took it out of my mouth. You know, I'm just looking at everybody on the panel that this is really diverse. Prof, you gave us a powerful speech, you know, earlier in the conversation, which was great. I just wanted to ask a question. At the moment, you are chairman of Lagos State Science Research and Innovation Council. I just wanted you to tell us in one word, you know, what your organization is doing, you know, regarding this global talent conversation.
Thank you very much. For those of you who were around yesterday, you saw some of the students from some of our secondary schools that were given award for what they are able to develop in the area of innovation. And tonight at the gala night, some of the researchers in the higher institutions in Lagos will get their sponsorship in the area of research. And also for innovation, you have some of these young ones who are being funded by the LASTRIC. We call it LASTRIC, Lagos State Science Research Innovation Council. They are being sponsored to be given a startup grant, and some of them are doing very well now. We also have fund for STEM projects, and somebody said yesterday, Nigeria is far, far behind in the area of STEM. We want to encourage you through this platform to visit our website. It's being sponsored by Lagos State Government, and this present governor increased the funding from about 150 million in the past to over 250 million now. Wow. We want people to apply. We have the fund there, but we are looking for people to present a very good proposal. There's no free lunch anywhere, even in Freetown. I'm sure that you still need to do something to get support. So we are ready to fund people in the area of research, in the area of innovation, in the area of STEM, and other for the students in the secondary school. But I want you to please give me this permission to say something. If there's something you want to take away from this place, number one, something was mentioned about skill. There is that skill in you that you need to make sure you ignite and make use of it. The second one is value. Value, somebody said, when we were younger and we are going to boarding house or we are going to the university, they always tell us, remember the child of whom you are. Please, that value is very important. The other thing I want you to take out of this place is communication. Many of our young ones, when they want to start making statements, they now say, like, no, as in, no. Because you don't want to respect the elders. That is why you are speaking English. You don't want to speak your common language to say, brother so, sister so. Well, you are permitted to speak English, but make sure that your communication skill, you brush it up every time, because you are going to use that to attract attention to yourself. The other thing I want you to leave here with is attitude. Your attitude is very key. Somebody said we don't talk about soft skill. Yes, I agree, but you need to develop that skill in you so that you will be able to compete locally and you'll be recognized globally.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. I see that our time is up. I just wanted, in 10 seconds, DDK, how everybody can connect with you, and let's just go everyone.
Hello.
So can we just do that? 30 seconds. How can everybody connect with you? You couldn't share all 3 ideas you had. You only shared one. So how can they connect with you?
I think the easiest way would be on Instagram or LinkedIn. Debola Dijikurumi on all of those platforms.
Fantastic, great. Well, we are connected to you. We are connected to you, so Biola Ojo.
Okay, I think you can connect with me on LinkedIn, Biola Ojo, or People Capacity Management. Yeah.
Olumide Balogun on LinkedIn, or just send me an email, olub@google.com, and give me time to respond.
Okay, it's all right. You can connect with me at Dr. Abiola Salami on Instagram. Thank you very much. It's been a pleasure having you, every one of us here. Prof, yes? Prof.
I think you can find me on LinkedIn. But again, I do try to be responsive. I do try to guide and advise. But I think sometimes what I would advise young people to is self-reflection is important, right? Let's not go out thinking that we're better than ourselves. A tone of humility, doesn't take anything away from you. We're all here. And I think when DDK was talking, Prof. Ogundikwe, I think the academic institutions help you go through the process, right? Yes. You can't wake up and become a professor. It takes you, there's effort you need to put in. There's rigor you need to put in. So, let's also realize that a lot of people see everybody sitting here like, oh, I want to be Tubosun, I want to be this. No problem. But please, earn your stripes.
So good.
That's all. Earn your stripes. And it's hard work. Listen to Tubosun's story of how he got to where he is. It doesn't happen overnight, all right? So please, let's not be in a hurry. Let's just realize that there is a time and place for everything. So ladies and gentlemen, I'm available on LinkedIn, Instagram. My name is Olayinka David West. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. A big thank you to all our members of this panel. Please, can you please rise? Ladies and gentlemen, one more time, can we put our hands together for them?
Well done. Thank you so much.
They will take photographs. I'd like to invite the Honorable Commissioner. Honorable Commissioner to please join us. Chairman House Committee, please join us. Founder, Eco Innovation, please join us. Victor Benga, please join them, please.
Once again, thank you to Biola Champ, Dr. Biola Champ Salami. Globalization advantages versus disadvantages, Africa's role in a globalized talent market. The issue or the topic of culture, respect, self-reflection, in as much as you are talented. Talent is never just enough. There are other attributes and values that you must carry as a person, a citizen, a countryman, an entrepreneur. But thank you so much for that.
One more time, can we put our hands together for them, please?
So for those who do not know, Dr. Abiola, well done. Omoluabi. There is a video that we have to show you at this juncture. And for those who have been coming since yesterday, this has a lot to do with one of our partners, Lagos Ride, that's the LAG Ride. For those who do not know, they have been taking and transporting our guests and our participants and all of you, for those who have been following the trend, with a special code to give you a heavy discount on your trip. So please turn your attention to the multimedia screen and you'll hear a word from Lagos Ride. Thank you.
As Lagosians, we've always been on the move. Our Legary's Benz took us miles, and then we rode in style. We rode on horses and rode on iron horses. In no time, we painted the city yellow, because Lagosians never ride alone. As we walked, ran, and rode together, we created a greater Lagos, a place with excellence, success, and community. Welcome to the next evolution. Let's keep Lagos moving.
Welcome to Lagos Ride, your smart mobility experience. As a user, download the app from the Play Store, register and provide your home address. You also have the option to provide your work address, preferred pickup time from home and work respectively. This allows us to plot the transit pattern of Lagosians so we can link those with similar patterns together so they can share the cost of a ride. Riders pay less, while drivers earn more, and ultimately this can reduce the number of vehicles on the road. Our driver selection process comprises a comprehensive verification process, including full security and medical checks, alongside extensive training sessions that ensure our drivers are the excellent service providers Lagosians deserve while in transit. Upon successful completion, drivers will be assigned a brand new car and a compatible mobile device. Lagos Ride users have the option to ride alone or select their preferred class of ride from A to D while ride sharing. In a ride share scenario, the pickup location of the riders is not more than 1 kilometer radius apart and pickup time not more than 5 minutes apart. We advise ride share users to set up their trips at least 30 minutes ahead of preferred pickup time to enable other users join the trip. Now you don't have to pay alone when you ride with friends by selecting the Share Ride Invite option. Friends who are in the same location can be in transit and share the cost of the trip. Our vehicles are within a 2 kilometer radius of the pickup location, keeping transit time to pick up to less than 4 minutes. Whilst ride sharing, all members must be available before the trip starts. Rides get picked up based on proximity to the driver and are also dropped based on destination proximity. Trip recommendations are available for users to join existing ride share schedules. Better days are here for our workers by using the fixed daily transit feature of Lagos Ride. Once they provide their home and work address and pickup time respectively while signing up, a ride is automatically assigned to them based on their ride share class preference. They will receive a notification to confirm their trips 15 minutes before their preferred pickup time, thereby saving them the hassle of having to book a ride during rush hour. They have the option to cancel or opt out of the service if they are unavailable. We have provided an AI-enabled dash cam trained on the driver and a 360-degree surveillance system alongside 2 panic buttons, one on the driver and rider app respectively, and the other a physical one inside the car for everyone's reach in case of any emergency. If the panic button is engaged, our security command center will dispatch last known location of the ride to the nearest security agency for prompt action. We have a wallet system for drivers and riders. All fares are charged to the wallet of the user and can be funded via transfer, cards, and USSD. Also, users have the option to pay for trips with their cards directly on the app. Where a user has physical cash, its equivalent is deducted from the net value in the driver's wallet. Our drivers enjoy additional benefits like car maintenance, free towing service, comprehensive insurance, personal insurance, health insurance with Ilera Eco, and financial incentives and rewards for performance programs. And more importantly, drivers earn more for the same distance traveled while ride sharing, as only the transit time fare is shared among the riders, while other fares remain constant. We are a service built for Lagosians by Lagosians. Thank you for choosing Lagos Ride, the better way to keep Lagos moving.
Thank you very much for that. So the gentleman you're about to meet is the CEO founder of Xenolink Technologies Limited. They own the technology that runs the lag ride, and also they're the winner at the first Eco Innovation Center Hackathon on traffic management in 2019. So this is literally proof, a testament to everything that Lagos State has been striving to achieve with regards to a smart city and traffic management in Lagos State. Ladies and gentlemen, please do make welcome the CEO and founder of Xenolink Technologies Limited, Mr. Tumi Adeyemi. All of you that got discount on lag ride, you better clap. Oh.
Good afternoon, everybody. Permit me to stand on existing protocol. Just like you rightly said, sometime in 2019, we responded to a call for a pitch session around solving traffic management issues in Lagos by Eco Innovation Center. Prior to that time, we had responded to almost every known pitch sessions, and the response was always the same. Thank you for responding, but sorry, for some weird reason, nobody wants to touch mobility in Lagos State, and it was quite discouraging. So on this day, when I saw this application, I said to myself, what's the worst that can happen? I mean, I've heard several no's, so this no is not going to make any difference. So we responded, and like 2 or 3 months later, I got an email, and in my usual manner, I would start reading the email and look for the but or the nevertheless and all of that. And I didn't see that here. I'm like, okay, what's going on here? So we were selected, and I think we were supposed to have a session where about 4 or 5 of us would be pitching our ideas to the panelists. Fortunately for us that day, we were the last to pitch, and every other person that spoke before us had about 20 minutes, 30 minutes, and we had about 2 hours of intense interrogation. I remember the essay and Mr. Victor, we kept going at it, and I told myself, this has been in the pipeline for over 10 years. There is nothing you want to ask me about mobility in Lagos that I do not know. Why? Because I'm a Lagosian. I understand where it hurts. I understand the nuances of doing business here. I understand how our value system, our orientation, how those things work together and sometimes can make a perfect business model fail when you try to implement that here. Fast forward to sometime in 2020, the Lagos Ride project came up, and who else would they call on to come and implement? So they called on us, and today some of us have witnessed service from Lagos Ride. We get a lot of, thank you. We get a lot of feedback and recommendations from people telling us, oh, that the service is great, the drivers are nice, and all of that. So let me give you a little bit of insight into what that is. It is first dealing with a value system where people feel once government is involved in something, automatically it will not work. You're dealing with an expectation that you will fail simply because government is involved. You're dealing with people who feel entitled. It is government, therefore I do not have any responsibility or I do not have any role to play. And we had to go through all of this. I remember that after the 23rd of March, when Mr. Governor launched this, we were dealing with a lot of negative publicity. A lot of people were saying all sorts of things. Lagos Ride is slavery, it is this, it is that. For about 2 months, it was extremely difficult for us to convert drivers that we had spoken to earlier to offtake, and it just looked like this was going to fail. And we had to recalibrate our model, and we started rolling out cars. Ladies and gentlemen, on the 1st of September, we had to stop applications for Lagos Ride cars because we had just a fleet of 1,000 cars and 7,000 people had applied to be Lagos Ride drivers. Today, we fulfilled in excess of 200,000 trips in Lagos, and we are counting. So I am a proud testimony of what Lagos State is doing. My advice to anybody here who is starting out in this journey of entrepreneurship is, number one, it is not going to be easy. Prepare yourself. You are going to get a lot of no. And I had a friend once who once told me, no means they don't have enough information to say yes. And that's exactly what I'm telling you today. Regardless of what you've been told, if that thing is important enough to you, if winning is more than the pain of not winning, if you will feel better because you win, then by all means, do not give up, because in Lagos, dreams do come true. Thank you very much.
Fantastic. Thank you so much, Tumi. Ladies and gentlemen, once again, a round of applause to Mr. Tumi Adeyemi. Remarkable story. I think you should write a book. I'm very serious. We've had a lot of people question.
It's all about telling your story.
Yeah, he has to document the story, because the stories can be told and they can be lost. But I think you need to document your story. And I don't know, I'm very shocked by the applause. We have people who ask questions about, oh, what can the government do? What can we do? Environment. And then you have somebody who has been through the process who's telling you that it works. And the applause is just very watery. Come on, guys. Please, let's show him some love. Well done to Xenolink and the team. Thank you so much for that story.
All right, gradually we're drawing the curtain on today's session. But don't forget that there's later on tonight.
Yeah, for those who know, they know.
For those who know, they know. Okay, to officially draw the curtain on today's program, the second day of the AOT Lagos 4.0, I'd like to respectfully invite the Chairman House Committee on Science and Technology in the Lagos State House of Assembly. Please welcome Honorable Olariwaju Afini. I'm sure he deserves a better round of applause.
Should I stay here or I should get on? Good afternoon, everyone. We won't take our time too much. I think our time is well spent already. We just want to thank all participants and also Mr. Governor, Mr. Babajide Olusola Sanwo-Olu, for giving us the liberty to stage this kind of tech conference where young talents can exchange ideas, where business handshakes can be made, and a lot of other things can happen from here. We will also thank the Deputy Governor that was here yesterday. He gave a fantastic speech, and he gave us inroads to everything the government has been doing and what more the government can do. We should also thank our sponsors, the media partners, and the partners, and also the planning committee and Eco Innovation Center. They have been good partners with the Ministry of Science and Technology. We should also thank the Ministry of Science and Technology, led by the Commissioner, Mr. Kim Pham, the SA to the Governor on Innovations and Technology, who is our host he has been our host since yesterday, Mr. Tubosun Olake. Also the Permanent Secretary that is unavoidably absent today, Mrs. Ibilola Kasumu. We thank all the panelists and the discussants. We have a lot of ideas have come out and action plans we have in our pockets, and we'll be implementing it in due time by the grace of God when our government continues to run the affairs of the state come 2023 at the state level and at the federal level. Thank you all.
A big thank you to the House Committee Chairman on Science and Technology, Honorable Olariwaju Afini. Thank you very much, sir.
Absolutely. And I think there we have it, ladies and gentlemen. Of course, last but definitely not least is to thank you, the audience, those of you online and those of you physically here, the participants as well, all the speakers, the panelists, moderators, those that came from all over Africa and all over the world. We thank you immensely for being part of AOT 4.0. It has been incredible. It's been very fulfilling, informative, and most importantly, it's testament to the idea that once you can think something and you put a lot of effort and the right team behind it, it can happen.
So this is employing everyone to take home with them what we've learned in the last 2 days. And hopefully by the time we come together again for AOT Lagos 5.0, the story must have changed. Thank you for being part of the program. Have a beautiful day ahead. Bye-bye.
Thank you so much. I remain Oscar Oyinsan. And SK?
My name is Shola Kusoko.
Give the person next to you a big hug. Come on, just...
You're just trying to steal one.
God bless. For those of you going home, LagRide has a code, AOT-LR. You get at least 20% discount. So if you haven't, you can download the app to get a discount on your ride back home. Once again, the code is AOT-LR. If you have any questions, information, send it to info@aotlagos.com. That's info@aotlagos.com. Have a wonderful day. Have a wonderful weekend. God bless you. Bye for now.